We're going to be getting started here in just a few minutes. What I'd love to do is if you would please introduce yourself, and let's make sure that our chat is working. If you could let us know who you are, what brings you here, what you're focused on, that would be great. And I think there might be a small lag. Let's see. You can share where you're from. And if you really want to share, you can share your goal for this weekend or any challenges that you're overcoming with this. All of those things are really great. Leonard, hi, from Milwaukee. Well, it's great to have you here. I would love to learn a little bit about you and what's your focus with us this weekend? Speaking of focus. Hello, Thomas. Hi, yeah. If you have a name that's not your name and as your ID, if you could just share with us your name so we know who we're speaking with. Hello, Rocco. That's great. Denver, huh? I was just there a few weeks ago. Hello, Robert. You're looking to make some personal changes? Well, you are in the right place. I'm glad you're here. Where are you from? Hello, Ree. Hello. It's good to see you. Your goal is to restart the business. That's good. Hi, Tom. From Philadelphia. What brings you here? What is your focus for this weekend with us? Hello, David from Texas. It's nice to connect. Hi, from Seattle, Canada. Hello, Philip. Well, good. I'm glad you're here. Leona from New York City. Hi. What's your area of focus with us? What brings you here? From the Netherlands, from Palm Beach. Hello, Lisa. Hello, Saad. It's nice to connect. I think you're right. It really is. It's a great tool. Or there's lots of great tools. Hello, hello. For those of you that are just joining us, I want to encourage you to go ahead and introduce yourself. It's really nice to see you all. And while you do that, I want to encourage you also to ensure that you're making space for your day today. Just go ahead and take everything that's worth putting aside and go ahead and put it aside so you can focus with us now. Hey, Kristen. I'm glad you're here. Hello, Francine. Alan. Claudia. Hi. Hello, Matthew. Hello, Brenda. Wow, it's great to see you all. So for those of you that have introduced yourself so far, is this your first time working with us on a weekend like this? Hey, Damon.
Hey.
How
are you? Good.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. See, I've been listening to you talk while I was getting set up. So sounds like we have a great group here.
Yeah. Yeah, some really great goals. As you can imagine, uh, a community from all over the world.
Excellent. All right. Is everybody ready? Everybody in a good place? Everybody in a set things up for themselves so they're not going to be interrupted, you're able to give this time to yourself so that you can learn, grow, do all the wonderful things that you've been wanting to do and plan that out. Did you give yourself a proper introduction, Nate?
Not usually. Not usually. Hi, everybody. I'm Nate.
So
Thank you.
Nate is my partner in crime uh, in the business, and I guess to keep it short, because he doesn't like me talking too much about him, is he, before joining forces with me, he was a very successful entrepreneur, and he decided he wanted to do something bigger than himself and do something, along the lines of, changing the world. And so we got together and decided to take this as far as we could take it, and take the message to as many people as we can. All right. Well, things are looking good. Let me check in with Yulia. Everything ready to go? Ah, good. So much easier to work as a team on
Mhm.
these things. I remember when I used to do all of this completely solo. It's nice to have other people who are thinking about all the possible things that could go wrong. Okay, Yulia, do I need to switch my screen, or are you going to do that automatically? Let's bring the slides. All right, here we are. Exciting, exciting. Okay, let's see. I'm going to get my stuff in order here. Just give me a second. There we go. All right, let's get started. Here we go. Real quick, before we get started, in the description below the video you're watching right now, below the screen, or below the square of the video, is a description. And in that description, we have some PDFs for you. You don't 100% need the PDFs. You can do what we're going to do on a notebook paper, or you can do it on an iPad or your computer that you're on right now. But the PDFs really help you along the way. They really help you understand the process, and they give you placeholders to put the information. So it just makes life easier. So there's a values elicitation PDF and a parts integration PDF. We're going to be using these over the next 2 days. So go ahead and download those now. I'll give you just a few moments to do that, especially for the people who are just coming on. It should take you only a minute. And like I said, it just makes things easier to follow along with. I'll give you a few moments to do that. I'll take a sip of my Celsius. I'm not sponsored either to do Celsius. Never done a sponsorship before. Don't think I ever will. Okay, assuming you've done that and everybody is ready to go, paying attention, let's do this. Okay, you should be seeing a screen in front of you that says Live NLP Training Becoming Transformational by me, Damon Cart, and the Self-Concept Research Group. All right, so why are you here? I think it's really important. I think this is a question that people don't ask themselves enough about what they're doing. Why are you here? Because to some degree, you're not as fulfilled as you know that you could be. And you came here to find out why and what you can do about it. You feel that your robust potential is, that deep within robust potential is wanting to be unleashed so you can fulfill what's possible in your life. However, for reasons you don't understand yet, it has remained just outside of your grasp. Until now. This is where the story takes a turn. Because with the right methodology, you can finally set your potential free and watch your life flourish. And I'm going to show you that methodology today, and of course tomorrow as well. I also want to show you as we go through this that people just like you are making this happen. They're doing this. They have no special intelligence or talent. Here's San Pedro. I experienced some transformation that dramatically enhanced my quality of life in the way that I didn't expect, and it's only been 3 months. From significantly reducing a lifelong struggle with anxiety and change it to a positive and joyful state, working on my past self-destructive behaviors and using them to develop a self-esteem, prosperous and harmonious. Learning the tools and methods of self-concept to build a version of myself that aligns with my values effectively and sustainably is what I've been looking for most of my life. So why should you trust me, though, and what I'm telling you here? You've heard plenty of other people say similar things about what they teach. I was just talking about this yesterday. It's like there are so many people out there that it sounds like a choir of voices, kind of all saying the same thing, like this will transform your life. This is the real deal. This is what's going to get you there. So why should you single me out and listen to me? Well, I have a little bit of credibility here. If you know who this man is, Steve Andreas. He was my mentor. He is no longer with us. He has passed on. If you are in the field of NLP or if you studied NLP, you should know who this man is. And he was my mentor, like I said. Here he says, Damon has a much better understanding of how my self-concept model works than anyone else I've ever worked with. He has an unusual ability to grasp the depth and details of the methodology, as well as a lot of energy, vitality, and commitment. Now, I'm going to talk more about him later. He's going to come up multiple times. He was crucial to the development of Neuro Linguistic Programming and beyond that, and we'll talk more about that later. Here's Rasmus. The skills I have developed during the time I've been working with the model can be boiled down to a few important things: deep connection with myself and getting great tools to meet a client and move them forward towards the same outcome in a steady, respectful, and very effective way. And what I want to highlight here is he's referring to the model. So yes, you before you go into learning something, getting good at something, you probably want someone of credibility to tell you, hey, this is where it will take you. This is why it's worth your time. Put the emphasis on the model itself, what we're going to teach, not necessarily my word, because I want all of you to test this out for yourself. Don't just believe me because I'm telling you this. Don't just believe me because I'm a YouTuber who has a decent following. Try this out for yourself. You will see that it works, but you want to find this out through your own experience, not just from someone telling you. One of my favorite writers, Hunter S. Thompson, said this many years ago when he was actually a very young man. A man who procrastinates in his choosing will inevitably have his choice made for him by circumstance. Life doesn't stop. I hear people all the time say, well, I'm putting my life on hold so that I can go accomplish this thing. That doesn't actually happen. Now, I know if I ask you that, you can tell me intellectually, literally, yes, I understand that life doesn't go on hold, but I'm putting everything else on hold in my life. Not a good idea. When we don't make certain choices, when we don't make certain decisions, and we think we can wait until we're in a better place or we have more money or whatever to make a certain decision, we are inevitably allowing circumstance to make our decisions for us. And this idea of waiting gives you the illusion that time has stopped or that your life has stopped. And then in that suspension, you can then figure everything out and make all the right decisions. And that's just not true. Life goes on. Life is not static. If you wait to make decisions, those decisions will be made for you. And then you have to ask yourself, when that goes on for a period of years, are you really living your life? Whose life are you living? You're living a life of being knocked around like driftwood, like the circumstances are dictating where you go next. And that's not how we want to live. We can't fulfill our highest potential and our values that way. So welcome, as I already mentioned, my name is Damon Cart. You probably knew that before. And you just met my partner, Nate Moore. Here's today's agenda. Here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna talk about how I stumbled upon this transformational technology, how to create a true vision that will guide you even when you're not consciously thinking about it, how to overcome resistance so you never have to worry about losing motivation or succumbing to procrastination ever again, discover what has kept you from fulfilling your potential so you can change it. A pathway to finding your true purpose and true fulfillment. What else could be more important than that? And here's another person, Lois. Self-concept has truly transformed my life, empowering me with valuable tools and techniques that have led to significant personal growth. Through this model, I have gained a deeper understanding of my thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, allowing me to notice and transform limiting patterns. So before we move on, would you, actually this, this is something we used to give away. This will stay up for you, so you don't have to worry about a recording. All right, this is something I caught myself doing about, I don't know, 15 years or so ago. And I notice this with my clients a lot. It's what I call the bargain, right? You set out to do something, maybe something kind of big, something kind of lofty, and you go for it and you think to yourself, you know, when I achieve this, then I'm going to be worthy and deserving. I'm going to prove this to myself. I hear that a lot. Oh, I want to prove this to myself, or I have to prove this to myself. Or people go even further and say, well, I have to prove this to everyone, or I have to prove this to my father, my mother, my wife, my husband. And this idea of, if I have this thing, then that's when I'm going to be happy. I'm not happy now, but it's because I haven't accomplished this thing yet. Or when I have more money, that's when it'll happen. That's when I'm going to be fulfilled. That's when I'm going to be happy. And now, not only is this completely backwards, you will keep bargaining down when you don't get what you want. So what do I mean by it's backwards? Well, we're starting off on the wrong foot. If we're starting off with an impoverished mindset, if we're starting off with an impoverished state of being, I am not what I want to be. I don't feel like I want to feel. I'm not who I see myself being in a way that it makes me happy and makes me fulfilled. But when I go get this thing, that's when I'm going to have all that stuff. Well, when you go after something from that state, from that impoverished mindset, that impoverished state, how well do you think you're going to be able to go after this thing? It's already like you tying one arm behind your back and hopping on one foot. Not a great place to start. And that's what this training is all about. It's going to put you in that place mentally and emotionally where you need to be, so that now when you go after what you want, you're going at it full on, fully resourceful, fully fulfilled starting out. But what happens is when you go about it this way and you don't get what you want, you start bargaining. And it's this weird thing. Like, even if you're an atheist, you'll just, and even if you don't believe in like that whole universe vibrational manifestation stuff, we start having this conversation with ourselves where we start saying, well, okay, instead of making $1 million a year, I'll just be happy with $500,000 a year. Is that, you know, can I just get away with that? Or, and then when that doesn't happen, okay, just $100,000 a year. If I could just make 100,000. So it's not always about money. I'm just using that as an example. It could be about anything else. But when we don't get it, we start the bargain. We start saying, well, okay, if okay, universe, I want less now. Can I just have less? And this creates a downward spiral. You will try to want less and less, which will only make you feel smaller and smaller and ensure that you don't get what you want. And this all starts with how you start. So let's get off to a good start. Decide right now that you're not going to bargain with your potential or your happiness ever again. That's over. That's done. You know it doesn't work, and if you're not sure about it, just believe me until you test it, and you're going to see that bargaining never works. If you catch yourself doing that again, you want to reverse that and make a commitment. Decide right now that you're going to do something different starting today. Now, why should you believe me? Why should you believe anything that I say here? Who am I? Just a guy who wanted to fix my failing insurance agency and fix my failing marriage. Yes, that's where I come from. That's what started everything for me. I was an insurance agent. I was very unhappy, very unfulfilled. And I wanted to stop falling into depression. So yes, this is me about 14 years ago. And yes, that is my daughter, and if you can, I know she looks really cute, if you can move your eyes from the cuteness to the sorry sack of bones next to her, you will see a person who is experiencing my second depression. I am underweight at this point. I'm rather skinny because I had no appetite. I was failing all the time at everything that I was doing. It felt like the world was caving in on me. And yes, I was quite depressed. Now, I mentioned him before, Steve Andreas, my mentor. And if you know who he is, you know he was a very serious person when it came to NLP and Neuro Linguistic Programming. You might also know that he didn't take crap from anybody. He was known as kind of a tough guy to deal with. And I understand why now after being mentored by him. At the same time, he did not compromise on the work. And that's why other people thought that maybe he was a little too tough. But to me, he was the best mentor in the world, the best mentor I ever could have had. And it's basically what I'm going to give you next is a story of how I went from where I was before, being depressed, to where I've gotten to now. And without this man, that would have just not been possible. He changed everything for me. What he taught me absolutely transformed my life. And I'll come back to this a little while later. So what is my life now? How are things for me now? Well, they're really, really good. I'm the happiest I've ever been. I'm the most fulfilled I've ever been. And that is not by accident. That is by hard fought and hard won lessons and a little bit of good fortune, meeting my mentor, like I mentioned before. But the main thing that I want you to take away from my story is that I have no special talents or intelligence. I am no different than you. I'm just a guy who felt at a certain point I had nothing left to lose, and so I put it all out there, and I had to learn a few things along the way, and that's what I'm going to teach you. So take not just my story and use it as inspiration. Take what I'm giving you, because this is the stuff that I had to figure out along the way. And if I could have just had it and given it to me, things would have happened a lot faster, a lot less frustration, possibly even bypassed the depressions I went through. So use what I'm going to give you so that you don't have to go through that pain and that frustration. So right now I have over 100,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel. I've made over 1,000 videos, and this would have not been possible without NLP, Neuro Linguistic Programming, because I am very much an introvert. I know a lot of people, when I say that, they go, "No, there's no way. I've seen you on stages, I've seen you on video all the time. How can you be an introvert?" Well, I'm an introvert who likes challenging myself with extroverted activities, and that is perfectly possible if you know what you're doing and you have the right tools to get you there. And this has worked out very well for me. I get to meet really interesting people. This is Maria Menounos. She's an actress. I've seen her pop up in movies even now when I'm watching them on Netflix or what have you. And she was a reporter for Extra and for E! And Today and Access Hollywood. She also happens to be really good friends with Tony Robbins. And she also happened to, at the height of her career, get a brain tumor. And it was thankfully benign. She had it operated on. And at that moment, she realized, a lot of this other stuff that I've created in my life, the fame, the beauty, all this, it's not where it's really at. So she created a YouTube channel where she goes at what is really helpful, what is really useful in bettering people's lives. And she had Tony Robbins on it a few times, but she was like, I want an NLP guy who's not Tony Robbins to be on the show. So they invited me on the show. It's still on her YouTube channel. And likewise, I had her on my show. Just not just a beautiful person on the outside, but a beautiful person on the inside with a beautiful message. I also got to meet this guy, Nas Daily. If you're into personal development and also travel and that sort of thing, you know who he is. He's an amazing guy who's created a lot of amazing content out there. If you see the 40% on his shirt there, that's how he's gauging how much life he has left. And that gives him the sense of urgency that he needs to really make sure that he's living life to the fullest. You may not know this guy. Similar thing. He's a YouTuber. He's very entertaining, but it also includes personal development. This is Leon Hendricks. And if you don't know who this guy is, your kids do. This is Ryan Trahan, also known as the Penny Guy, because he went across the United States taking a penny that he was supposed to deliver to Mr. Beast. I was at a summit, and he was, I think, 24 at the time, and he gave the most amazing talk. And I went up to him and said, "Man, I had to say hi to you and say that was the best talk I've heard. I couldn't believe someone so young had so much wisdom." So my life these days is traveling the world with my wife, and this is the life that I had always wanted. This is a life that I dreamed about, and I finally was able to make it happen. And part of all this, there's a bigger story, there's a little more dramatic story. My wife and I, before we were married, got separated by COVID. She's not from this country, she's from Romania. And so she couldn't get into my country. I couldn't get into her country because we got separated. So we went to Istanbul and got married, and because they would marry strangers, not strangers, foreigners. And the local media, the national media, picked up our story because during COVID they were looking for uplifting stories. And so they would just love the fact that an American and a Romanian came to their country because we couldn't enter each other's countries, but we came to their country to get married. And I didn't know this at the time, but the Turkish culture, they love love stories. And so this was perfect for them. All of this is on my YouTube channel if you want to find it. It was it was something we could not have planned for or imagined, and it was an amazing experience. So we continued traveling after we were reunited, after this long, well, the only way we could be together is by traveling to a different country, and finally she was able to come back into this country. And we said, you know what, we're just going to continue traveling because this is the lifestyle we've created, and we're just going to keep doing it. This is where we started right before the pandemic. So this is about 5 years ago. It was just the three of us. And we were really concerned at the beginning of the pandemic, like what's going to happen. We had no idea. We had just partnered, and who knows, once in 100-year pandemic, what's going to happen next? We were concerned about this, but we said we're going to do everything we can to make this work, to get this message out to everyone. And in that process, we grew, we expanded. We didn't fall apart like so many businesses did, unfortunately. We actually grew and expanded. So how did I get from this on the left 14 years ago to this on the right? And if you're wondering if that's my daughter grown up, yes, that is. And not only that, that's Bagels the cat. And Bagels the cat is actually rather famous. Bagels the cat was born without eyelids, so he wears those special glasses so that dust doesn't get in his eyes. This was, we got to meet Bagels at a conference. Now, before I go any further, I wanted to, like I mentioned, I'm going to be sprinkling this in throughout the training because I don't want for a second for anyone to think, oh wow, I don't know if I can do this, or I don't think this is going to work for me. This will work for you. And again, don't just take my word for it. Here's Peter.
The first session, he elicited my goals and my values. And in the second session, he did a transformation for me.
What was that like?
It was proof positive that rapid change is possible.
Yeah.
So my highest value at the time was freedom. And we mapped that to authenticity. And I had this incredible limiting belief about being an authentic person. And we transformed that over the course of an hour. And so that, to me, that was a light bulb moment. The lights went on inside, and I go, oh my God, if this is possible, anything is possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the next session, he wants to transform love, right? And even though that's my highest value, I'm thinking to myself, like, actually, Damon, I'm broke and I'm not getting any clients. So how about we work on my business? And he's like, okay, so what do you want to transform in your business?
Yeah.
And I said, well, I'm a procrastinator, And so he, over the course of an hour, he creates this transformation for me where all of a sudden at the end of the call, I'm like, no, I'm not a procrastinator. I'm an incredibly productive person.
Yeah.
And it was so bizarre to go from being a procrastinator to being productive.
Yeah.
And then a week later, I'm looking at the clock in the top right of my computer screen, right? And it says 10:30 p.m. And then I realized, oh my God, I have been working on my business since 4:30 that morning. Like this incredible flow of productivity that had never been there before.
Yeah.
And then it was one more transformation after that. And I got 4 new clients. And then after that, I filled my practice within about 2 weeks.
So that's
So Peter had come to me years ago. He came to me and he was pretty much like, Damon, I've done all these NLP trainings, I've done hypnosis trainings, and I've done more than that beyond NLP and all that. And he said, and nothing has helped. I'm living with my mom, and he was 30 at the time. I'm working a nighttime job I really don't like. Do you think you can help me? And I was like, yeah, I really do think I can help you. So we started working together, and within a few months, he was doing all that he was saying in this video. He wanted to be a coach. He started getting clients. He quit his night job so that he could work full-time as a coach. And he moved out of his mom's place and got his own apartment. And this all happened like in a matter of months. It was amazing. So what about you? Wouldn't it be great if everyone here, everyone watching right now, whether you're live right now or you're watching the recording, what if in a very short time you could be sharing your own story of transformation and creating the dream life you really want for yourself? That is absolutely within your grasp. Trust me, you are so much closer than you think. You're not further away than you think. That's a common mindset. Oh, it's in the future. I'm too far away from it. I'm not there yet. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. So here's my goal: to show you how, in the shortest time possible, to transform yourself so that you can create and sustain the version of your life that excites and fulfills you every day. If that's what you're here for, type a big fat yes in the chat box. And I'm going to periodically ask you for this feedback, because the truth is that what I absolutely love, I absolutely love teaching. That is the best thing in the world for me. I am fulfilling my live stream here. And my preference is if I could be in the same room with all of you. That's what I absolutely love, to have that kind of connection in real time with real faces and real bodies in the seats. And it has a lot to do with the feedback, just the interaction. Well, in modern times like we are and now, that's not always possible. So I'm staring at a screen right now, but I can see your comments coming up. And so when I ask for some feedback like that, and I see it here, it gives me a stronger connection, a stronger feeling of all of you out there. So I really appreciate the responses here. So this is a two-way street as well. I'm going to bring my best in this short time that we have together. What I need from you, though, is a commitment that you're going to bring your best, because that's how you're going to get the most out of this. Do I hear a yes out there? Is that what you're here to do? Or are you here to give your full commitment that you're going to bring your best? Because when you do, you get out of it what you put into it. It's like anything else, right? If you're busy being distracted or you're in and out, you're listening here and there, you're just not going to get the full benefit of this. So give this time to yourself. Commit to this. What do you have to lose? Nothing is more frustrating to me. Nothing stings worse than someone encountering a life-changing idea and letting it go to waste. This is literally painful for me to watch, and I've seen it so many times. So don't do that. As we go through this together, all I ask is that you see yourself doing what I show you, to make it yours, to see the future show up right now in the present. Because as my mentor, Steve Andreas, used to say, what your mind attends to becomes real to you. Is that a deal? Awesome. Again, people just like you, making this work, making it happen. Here's Stacy. It's a great system for self-development and working with your limitations. I have spent most of my adulthood looking into one way or another to continue my growth path. I had played with NLP in college, but didn't fully understand it. With this system and the way it is taught, I completely understand, and my transformation process is quick, easy, and free of drama. So let's address this. How did I go from this on the left to this on the right? It started with depression. My very first depression, which was a little bit ago, it was right after I graduated college. So I was out of school for the first time in my life. 9/11 had just happened. Yes, so I'm giving you some, I'm dating myself here. So 9/11 had just happened. I was just out of college. Then the attacks on the World Trade Center happened. And I got arrested for something stupid. And so people often want to know the story. I'm not going to tell it publicly right now. If you see me at an airport or you see me at a conference and you want to know the story, ask me and I'll tell you the story. I had no health insurance either. And I know if you're not from the US, you probably think that's just crazy, and I do too. I was a bartender in New Orleans. I didn't have health insurance. And so I had no way to just like, hire a therapist. I was kind of broke. I didn't know what to do. So I tried asking some therapists if they would lower their price, and some were willing to. And then suddenly I remembered something. I had a professor in college who taught a course called The Philosophy of Psychology. And it was rumored that in the class, this guy would teach you how to hypnotize people. Not only that, there was this thing called NLP. And I heard a little bit about NLP at this time. I knew a little bit about it from Tony Robbins. I also had heard that it was very manipulative and had all these other things attached to it. So I was really curious. So I took this course, and it was amazing. The professor, his name was Donald Hank, and he was very skilled, very, very skilled. I always liked that class, and I remember thinking to myself, one of these days I'm going to have to learn hypnosis. One of these days I'm going to learn NLP. But I was a broke college student, and even after I was broke, so I didn't have the means to pay for training and all of that. But here I am in a depression, and I know I need help, but I don't know where to go to. So I thought of my professor, and I called him up and I said, hey, I'm not doing well, and I believe you can help me. And he said, great, come into my office. And this is an actual picture of me meeting with him in his office. Now, obviously, this isn't true. This is taken from Good Will Hunting. That's Robin Williams, and that's a picture of me at the age of 17 pasted on Matt Damon. So he tells me to come in to his office, and he says, I don't believe in a free service, but I also don't need your money. So every time you come to see me, donate your time or money to charity, and I'll just trust that you do that. And I lived up to that. He said, come back next week and we'll get started. So I come back next week. We have an hour-long session. And in that hour, months of depression suddenly lifts, and it's gone. And it was so jarring that even when I left his office, I was looking around. I was like, this can't be real. This can't be right. How can I suffer from depression for 6, maybe 9 months? And everything that I had heard about depression at the time is like, oh, this takes quite a long time to come out of it. One session, it was gone. And I'm just thinking to myself, there's no way this is going to last. And the next day and the next day and the next day, I was fine. Went back to his office the next week. And I said, this sounds crazy, but I don't think I'm depressed anymore. And he says, no, it doesn't sound crazy. Whatever triggered you to get depressed probably took an instant, took a moment. And all we have to do is, there's no reason why it wouldn't take one moment to undo all of that. And I was like, okay, great, I'll take it. And that was the last time I saw my professor. And 10 years later, I fell into another depression. So it lasted 10 years. And the other thing to know about this is that, I was in completely different circumstances. I was living in a completely different place. Now I was married with kids. So everything was different. The first depression was no way related to this depression. This was different. And so after getting married and having kids and giving up my dream of becoming a filmmaker, I felt absolutely lost. But I knew I wanted to be my own boss, and I knew I wanted to position myself to make as much money as I wanted rather than belong to a corporation that dictated my salary. So I did what anyone in my position would do. I decided to go into the glamorous profession of insurance, of course. Isn't that what everybody would do? Well, people often think, and this is a funny thing to me later to talk to family and friends who knew me before this and knew that when I told them I was going into insurance, a lot of them, they held their tongue, but they kind of knew this wasn't the right direction for me. But apparently I didn't. And when I got into it, I realized very quickly that I had gotten myself into the wrong thing. I didn't like insurance, but it seemed like a way to buy my freedom. But I was anything but free. Now, I want to bring this up. It's very important. This was part of the bargain. Remember what I talked about the bargain? And the bargain at this point was, okay, I'll do the things that I don't like to do if I can get my freedom. And in this case, I was trying to buy that freedom. This is a very big mistake. Do not sell out your other values for one value. And we do this a lot of times. In this case, for me, it was freedom. A lot of people sell out their other values for success. And we can talk a lot more about this. What does that even mean to succeed? Most people have a very specific outcome of what that means, and that was me. I had an outcome of what I was after, and I was willing to give up my own well-being to get there, which doesn't make any sense, because it doesn't make any sense to me now, but at the time it did. And this is how we get ourselves into bad situations. So unsurprisingly, it did not go well, and that's what landed me here. This is what got me to this state that I was in. And I went to traditional therapy at this time. I was living in California. My professor, when I went to college, that was in New Orleans. So now I'm in a completely different place. He was also retired by this point, and I wasn't going to try to hunt him down and say, I need help again. I just went to a local therapist, and it was a traditional therapy. And it took an entire year to come out of this depression with traditional therapy. Now, I'm not knocking established psychology and established therapy or licensed therapists, not at all. There are some great ones out there, there are some bad ones out there, and there's everything in between. But the tendency is that it works kind of slow, and I know why. They're just being very cautious. But when you can go and in one session have depression lifted versus taking an entire year to come out of it, I don't think anyone would choose the year. But what I realized in that year is that it was time to treat my mental health the same way as my physical health. You can't just go work out one time and be healthy. You can't just eat one healthy meal and then be like, okay, I'm done. But that's a lot how people think of therapy or mental health. Oh, I just need to go get it fixed. Well, we're not machines, right? So, well, I'll get into this later. What I'm giving you here and is what I use to maintain my mental health. And it sounds strange for me to say it like that now because I don't feel like I have to maintain it anymore. It feels like once you do this enough, it just becomes part of you. I'll leave it there. So on my resume at this point was 2 bouts of depression, a failed business, a failed marriage. My family and I were getting evicted from our home. Financially, I was broke. I had no money. And my younger brother had just died. Like this all happened within just a few months. And I had just freshly come out of a depression. So even now people ask me, well, how did you not slip back into depression when all of this came slamming into you? And this is what it was. I had started my NLP journey. I had started my training. This is Judith Delosier and Robert Dilts. If you're in the NLP world, these people are pretty big deals. So this is where I started my training. And it was here in Santa Cruz, California. And now I had tools. I had tools to work with myself so that I didn't slip back into that depression. I had NLP to help me organize the way that I thought so that then that informed my emotions and I had a way out. I had a pathway forward. There was light now shining the way. And not only that, I loved this stuff. As soon as I started my NLP training, I fell in love with it. I enjoyed it so much. It's one of those it's never in my life had I ever felt like I was meant to do something. I never felt like a natural at anything. My older brother, super talented. He could pick up something and within days master it. I was never like that. I had to work really hard to practice anything to get even slightly good at it. But when I stepped into NLP, it felt like I had come home. And I was so enthusiastic about it that I attracted the attention of my teachers like Robert Dilts. This is also Robbie Steinhaus here, Steve Gilligan. He's more in the hypnosis world. And I couldn't get enough. So I started training with everybody I could afford to train with. Here's Richard Bandler, one of the co-founders of NLP, quite a lively character if you know anything about him. And so I kept going to trainings, and I had even established NLP teachers saying, hey, why don't you resource coach for my training, and kind of hinting at maybe we'll let you teach. Now, when I first started this, I had no intention of becoming an NLP teacher, no intention of becoming a coach. I was just trying to fix those problems in my life. But along the way, people were like, hey, you're pretty good at this. You might want to try teaching. You might want to try coaching. And I was like, okay, I'll do it so that I can learn NLP even better. That was my strategy. I'm going to teach and coach so that I can get even better at this stuff. Well, it really tapped into something that I didn't know was there, which was my desire and the fulfillment I get from teaching. I absolutely love doing this. And I started, what you see in the pictures on the right was me starting to teach NLP out of my insurance office, because I wasn't getting the opportunities from other teachers. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to start doing it. Then I hit a plateau. All of these amazing things started happening in my life. I was far away from depression now, and I felt very confident that I would never slip back into depression because I knew too much now how to organize my thoughts, how to get what I want. And so I made a huge leap forward, and then I found myself stuck again. I was like, what is this? I thought I had the answers to everything. Now, I wasn't depressed. I wasn't going downward, but I wasn't moving forward. And that's where Steve Andreas comes in. When they say when the student is ready, the teacher arrives. And so I had gotten pretty good at NLP. I had gotten myself out of the hole that I was in mentally and financially. And then I got stuck. And then this guy came around serendipitously, kind of popped out of nowhere, dropped into my life. And what he taught me next changed absolutely everything. And this is, I think, where a lot of people who do start learning NLP and they do start making advances and they do improve their lives, and then they get stuck. This happens for a lot of people, and they don't know where to go next. And so they think, oh, well, okay, I guess NLP, this is kind of where the limits of it are. No. The problem is a lot of NLP being taught out there is incorrect. It's more NLP inspired. So there are useful things in it, but it's not going to get you to where you want to go. And Steve mentored me and taught me the things that were taught to me incorrectly, and he helped me correct those. And at this point, this has been over 10 years now, and I still have not found the limitation on any of the stuff I'm going to teach you here and beyond. So why would this not work for you? So if everything I will show you will work for you if you follow the process, why doesn't it work for some people? It's the same thing that stops anyone from having and being what they want, even when the solution is right in front of them. It takes more than just great ideas, which I'm going to give you plenty of, to transform your life. Yes, it's more than just the ideas. However, great ideas are useless if they're not implemented. What good is an idea if you don't do anything with it? Nothing. So let's handle this now before we go any further. Does what I'm going to show you take time? Yes, of course it does. To do anything is going to require some time. Now, how fast some people move or how slow they move, that just depends on the person. And that's also not a judgment on anyone. Some people move faster, some people move slower. That doesn't make them better or worse. You have your own time, and it's better just to not compare yourself to others at all. Have you ever known a get-rich-quick scheme that actually works and is legal? No, because they don't exist. So mastering yourself and your life doesn't happen overnight, but one thing is for certain, no one else can do it for you. So if you don't start, it's not going to happen at all. Not 10 years from now, nor 20 years from now. But this is, I think, the thing that I encounter most when I start working with people is they're waiting for something. It just doesn't work that way. I mean, I guess, yes, some people get really lucky and something great happens to them. But if they weren't involved in that, if they weren't engaged in making that happen, oftentimes they lose it. So when we think, oh, yeah, in the future, sometime, somehow, in some way, I don't know, it's just going to happen for me. No, it's not. And what happens is when you're waiting, time is still passing. And so if you don't get started now, then 10 years are still going to pass. That doesn't stop. 20 years is still going to pass. And so now you're 10 or 20 years later and you still haven't gotten started, which means you're worse off. Okay. But again, we engage in this delusion that if I just wait, then wait for everything to work out the way that I needed to, or I wait for everything to be perfect before I take that step out into the world and take that action, then you're going to wait forever. The years will pass regardless. Waiting does not stop time. It only stops you. Does this take money? Not necessarily. You will need to invest in your education and training, which means you will either spend extra time to find what you need to know, or you can pay for guidance and save yourself time. I heard this person giving a talk one time, and somebody asked him about how much money should I invest in. It was something completely unrelated. It had to do with YouTube. And the person's response was very interesting. He's like, well, all the information is actually out there. If you're willing to go out there and really hunt it down, you can hunt down this information for free. It exists out there. You can get your hands on it. But what is that going to cost you? That's going to cost you a lot of time and a lot of effort. And if you prefer to do it that way, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. So what do you pay for? You pay for someone to deliver it to you much faster. You pay for guidance. You pay for mentorship. That's what paying for this happens. So either way you decide to go, you're going to have to make an investment either way. The problem is that people say, well, I'm not going to invest in that. It should just come to me, or it's not worth it to me. It's like, okay, well, what are you selling out here? Or are you just saying, it's not worth it to me? Or are you saying that, I'm not going to put in the effort, I'm not going to put in the money? But I encounter this a lot with people. They're just unwilling to invest either way, their time or their money. It's like, okay, if you're not willing to do that, then there's nothing that's going to help you here. You have to do one or the other. Or you could do both. The one way or the other, you have to invest in yourself. And this is what I don't understand. People externalize this so much, and they say, well, no, if I invest in that, then I'm giving that person whatever. And it's like, okay, but stop thinking about it that way. What do you want out of this? This is an investment in yourself. And why wouldn't you invest in the most precious thing you have? Your life. Like, what else is there? That's you. And when I say this, I think a lot of people get the wrong idea, and they think that this is a self-absorbed pursuit. No, it is not. When you invest in yourself and you make yourself better, which includes happier, accomplished, all the things that you want, successful, you are better off for others. You're going to be better off for the people in your life. I assume everyone here has values like empathy and sympathy and love. You care about other people. You care about connection. So when you make yourself better and you make yourself more fulfilled, happier, you're fulfilling your potential, which often flows over to helping other people, you are better for everyone else. You are better for the world. And this kind of brings in my partnership with Nate, because he was out there doing businesses and being very successful, and something was just missing for him. And it was like he wanted to take it even further. So when you are better, when you invest in yourself, typically, as long as you're a balanced person who's not a psychopath, that will flow over into your relationships and in the world around you. So you're providing not just more value for yourself, you're providing value for the world. So like most things, you get what you pay for. You wouldn't buy the cheapest parachute or the least expensive life jacket or anything else when your life is at stake. And the truth is that your life, in a sense, is at stake. Not like someone's threatening to kill you, but what kind of life do you want to live? And if you're not doing that right now, like I said, the time is still passing. You only have so much time in this world. And whether you realize it or not, your life is indeed at stake right now, like I just mentioned. So don't wait for a life-threatening experience to finally see the value in your life, and that the tools to access that value is right in front of you. Realize that there is nothing more important than investing everything you can into your life, because the dividends will keep compounding. Sometimes you have to have a little more patience. Sometimes you don't see the results right away. But when you're actively engaged in what it is that you're pursuing and you're doing it with the right tools, it will come. You might blame obstacles or for getting in your way, which cause you to fear failure and to feel like you're not good enough. So you hesitate, or you wait before truly committing 100% to giving your life your all. And this is a mistake. It's a tragedy. But you can change this now. That's the wonderful thing. At any moment, you can decide to do something different. You can change any moment by just changing, making a different choice, making a different decision. But most people are not thinking, they're not making a choice. They're holding off on making a choice. They're waiting to make a choice. But when we do that, like I mentioned before, the choices get made for you, which is not what you want. So you can find a way around any obstacle if you overcome the only obstacle that really matters, your own limiting beliefs. And like I keep mentioning, people just like you are doing this. They're making it happen. Here's Richard. A years of training with the self-concept group has left me much more at ease with myself. The excellent coaching, training, and learning shared in this group supported me in discovering some seriously uncomfortable internal structures I'd been carrying around and transforming them so that I am holding much less tension than I used to. So you may be thinking, Damon, what if this is too difficult and I just can't make it work? I get it. That was me at one time. I was trying a lot of different things, and a lot of those things didn't work for me. This is not about how intelligent or talented you are. It's about understanding how you create value in your mind. You're already doing it. You just need to understand all of it consciously, which anyone can do. So all of this stuff, the majority of your reality is held in place by your unconscious thoughts, thought patterns, beliefs, whatever you like to call them, is being held in your unconscious. So it's just a matter of bringing what is in your unconscious into consciousness. And when you're conscious of it now we can make different choices about it. Now we can change it. So this is the thing where people think that something inside of them is sabotaging them, or as hard as they try something, they just can't. They can't succeed. They can't win. They just keep failing. A lot of what is creating that, majority of what is creating that, is unconscious to you, and that's why it's so frustrating. That's why we don't know. Like we look around and we it's easy to blame external factors, the economy, other people. And then some people turn inwardly and they blame themselves and they judge themselves. And it's like, look, that's not what's going on here. It's just a matter of restructuring the old structures, which you've been creating since you were born, haphazardly. You haven't been aware of it. Now we can teach people how to bring this into their awareness. And once you do, you realize it's not because you're a bad person that life has given you what it's given you. It's not because you screwed up or you did anything wrong or you're not worthy or any of these things. It's just a matter of reorganizing the structures and paying attention to the right information, the right thoughts, the right memories to get you where you want to go. So you may be thinking, but Damon, I've tried everything and nothing works. You haven't tried this. And in that case, you have nothing to lose. And this, what I'm going to give you too, is a practice. It's not a one and done kind of thing. Doing it once, you will feel it. You will know it. Something will shift. It's an ongoing practice. It's an ongoing practice of being clear about what it is you want. It's really hard to go at what you want if you're not clear about it. The most underestimated and overlooked tool when it comes to creating the life you want is commitment. So I'm in the transformation business. That's all that I do. That's what my mentor taught me. It was all about transformation at the identity level. And if you've seen my videos with Jason Fladley, if you haven't seen those and you like persuasion and influence, go check those out. He is a self-trained NLP guy. He also holds the world record for the most amount of money brought in from a webinar that he created. And he told me one time, he said, the fastest transformation you can make is a commitment. And I pondered on that for a long time, and I was like, you know what? He's right. However, it needs to be fully congruent. You can't just say, oh yeah, I commit to that. Like, okay, are you really? Are you really committed? Meaning that you're determined this is what you're going to do. We hold back a lot. We don't want to commit a lot of times. And here's what I say, there's wisdom in that. I always say, do not commit to a goal. Because a goal is this static thing. It's like a threshold, or it's something very specific. And when we commit to goals, we try to smash ourselves into becoming that and being that. I don't think that's a good idea. What you can commit to is what we're going to explore today, which is your values. And always commit to your values. 100%. Don't ever hold back on your values. Those are not static. And that's where true fulfillment lies. True fulfillment is not always found in the achievement of a goal. And you've probably experienced that before. You've achieved a goal and it felt really empty. And sometimes you achieve a goal and it feels very fulfilling. So they go either way. I would not commit to something that was that iffy, that was that 50-50. But what you can commit to are your values. You can do that right now, and you can feel the difference, and your values will never let you down because you're fully committed. It's well, I don't want to say too much more. We'll get into it. So my commitment. This is my mentor, Steve Andreas. This is only months before he passed away. I went to see him. I did this interview. I did more than one. And again, all of these are on my YouTube channel. And I committed to him that I would spread what he taught me. I would pass on what he taught me in gratitude for what he had done for me, but not just that, not just for the gratitude of all that he had done for me. And that's what he kept telling me too, was to pay it forward. Keep paying it forward, Damon. So my commitment extends beyond my gratitude for him. It extends to all of you because I truly believe what I'm teaching here can change the world. I truly believe that what I'm teaching here is the missing piece. It is the piece that when we think about the human potential movement, when it started, Maslow gets credit for that often. And by the way, Abraham Maslow mentored my mentor, Steve Andreas. He actually did. That was his first mentor. What Abraham Maslow birthed, that idea of we're not broken. There's so much good in us. And what we need to do is not put so much emphasis on studying what's wrong with us and put the emphasis on studying what's right with us. And then using that to heal and solve problems. Heal us and solve our problems. What this man created, Steve Andreas, I believe, is the ultimate model to do just that. You can judge for yourself, though, and I hope all of you give it a try so that you know for yourself. So my commitment is to continue to fulfill the promise that I made to my mentor, Steve, before he passed away, and these are the commitments: to share the technology of transformation with as many people as I possibly can, to teach how self-concept works in order to strengthen it and change it when you want, so that you can live a more successful and satisfying life, to help people rapidly make their self-concept stronger, more resilient, and more aligned with your values and goals, to help people avoid the unpleasant pitfalls and consequences of a poor self-concept, to help people continually improve your life as you respond to unfolding events. So those are my commitments. Does that sound good? All right, there we go. I think there's a little bit of a delay. So here's your commitment. When facing a challenge and when facing the unknown, your commitment is your superpower. You don't have to have it all figured out in order to commit. And when you commit, there will be a shift. You will feel it, you will know it. Doesn't mean that it all feels great suddenly. Doesn't mean the problem is solved. It just means that this is the beginning of doing exactly that. And it's more than just solving problems. It's about creating the life that you want to live. If you are 100% committed, not one half, not 2/3, nor even just 90%, you will succeed at this, and your life will never be the same again. I assure you of that. Are you committed to living the best life you possibly can? Good. Will you commit to setting aside all distractions while we all learn together? Awesome. Will you commit to doing what I show you if it makes sense to you? My job is to make it make sense. So I'll take that on. That's my responsibility. What I want you to commit to is, if it does in fact make sense to you, that you commit to doing it. Excellent. So this training is for you if you're committed to creating the life you want to live. And several of you have already done that. Great. You're willing to change, to even transform, in order to create that life. Some people are afraid of this. They're afraid of, I don't know who I'm going to be, what I'm going to be like. So it's a willingness. Just be willing. You're willing to heal any wounds that hold you back. You realize that this training is just an introduction to get you to that next step, the next necessary step. Because there's a lot to this. And even in 2 days, there's no way I could give it to you all. This training is not for you if you're committed to clinging to resentments and blame. Nothing will stop you faster than resentment and blame. When you blame others, or even yourself, there's nowhere to go. It creates a feeling of hopelessness and helplessness. So it's time to stop blaming, and that, like I mentioned, that does not mean that, oh, it's about blaming yourself. It's not. Just give up on blame. Quit on blame. Blame is not useful. It's unnecessary. It doesn't get you anywhere. There's nothing you can learn when you blame. You're unwilling. This training is not for you if you're unwilling to approach this material with an open mind. It does take an open mind. I'm going to say things that are contradictory, or a better way to put it is, I'm not going to contradict myself. What I mean is, it's going to be counterintuitive. I'm going to say things that you go, whoa, I don't know if I agree with that or believe that. And I don't want you to just believe it. I want you to try it. This is not for you if you plan to sit through this passively and not participate in the exercises. I've watched so many people waste their money on NLP trainings because they never did any of the exercises. They just thought, if I passively sit here and listen or watch or both, then I'm just going to get it. No, NLP is experiential. You do not really learn NLP from a teacher. You learn NLP from yourself. You learn NLP from doing the practices, doing the exercises, doing the processes, doing the techniques. It's what you learn from that is what NLP actually is. But it does not happen just by listening or reading it in a book. It will not work that way. This training is not for you if you're offended if I make you an offer to invest in your coaching and training. All right, and we are at the first module, and I think what would be best right now is to take a short break to make sure everyone is refreshed, ready to go. Maybe take a drink of water, go to the bathroom, get a bite to eat if you need to. Don't do a full meal so that you're eating while we're going through these exercises. That's the kind of distracting stuff that I was mentioning earlier you do not want to do. So let's see, maybe a 10-minute intermission. I'm waiting for my technician, also known as my wife, to set this up. We're going to set up a timer so that everybody knows when they need to be back. Yulia, are we working on that?
We had the first call with you, Danny, and we tried transforming the first quality was bold, I remember.
Yeah.
Because I working in sales, I always felt like I was lacking this quality. And after, I think, our third call, I was like, wow, this is, how is it even possible? How does it even work? It was just, mind blowing. And Yeah, I don't know if I answered your question or.
You did, yeah, and yeah, you totally answered my question. And can you share a little bit about how transforming even that quality, because you've transformed a lot of quality since then, right? You've been working on several projects, but just even sharing the significance of doing that transformation, how that impacted, your sales or other aspects of your life.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I transformed a few qualities indeed. So those who really helped me in sales was bold, organized, persistent, authentic, curious, pretty much pretty much everything. And also, what was exciting for me this year, I got promoted earlier than I expected. I think I also shared that with you, Danny.
Mhm.
So yeah, I noticed the change. I used to be, I think naturally, I was never like a salesperson. I was never, like persistent, trying to, I don't know, kind of artificially convince client to do something. And because my personality is more like, I'm, I don't know, charismatic. I'm more, I don't know, just trying to be myself, but sometimes, as you can imagine, in sales you need to kind of go further to deliver and to do sales and to achieve your targets.
Mhm.
And this really really helped me to boost my performance, and was also interesting to explore this boundary work that is also part of self concept. And I noticed that it also worked quite well with my clients, and especially when I started meet them in person.
Mm.
So it's yeah, really interested. So I definitely see positive changes in my career, and also what's interesting now that I also share that I would like to explore a possibility of being a coach myself in some years. Of course, I have no experience. I don't know what exactly I want to do, but I really love NLP, and it is something that I'm excited about, and I would like to give it a go. And yeah, so it's really great because I'm making huge progress, I think, at my day-to-day job, but at the same time, I'm pursuing my another goal that I really value, and I think this is something that fit me. And because I was receiving lots of feedback from people that you're such a people person, you would be great as a therapist, but of course you need an education for that and stuff like that, or a coach, you're like, you would be so great. And then I was always thinking, maybe I did something wrong in my life. Maybe I'm just pursuing the wrong career. But it's just a combination. I don't know where my life, will lead me, but it doesn't matter. So now what matters is I'm I feel like I'm on the right path. I'm doing what I love doing and exploring something I'm even more excited about. So I think, yeah, and let's see.
Awesome. No, that's really, really cool. And what do you think that this whole process made you learn about yourself?
mm, Good question. I think what, like, first of all, values elicitation was a really great exercise to start with, to
Mhm.
really see what my values are, not values that my mom told me or other people around me, but what do I really want and value. I think I shared with you probably briefly that I used to have these FOMO trips a lot of times when,
I remember.
you're doing something for yourself and then like, oh, people are partying in summertime, doing something more exciting, and scroll Instagram, and yeah, I was like, oh no, should be somewhere else, not here. And then when I did this work, I'm like, I don't really care to be fair what others do. I will find time for, like, first of all, I want to take care of myself, and then of course I love also going out, doing something else, having fun, traveling, etc. But this, yeah, this changed a lot for me. This is really something that's a big shift. That's
Yeah.
a really big shift. And also I noticed that I give myself the right to be non-perfect. I used to be a big perfectionist in the sense that I would, I don't know, almost have some panic attacks or something like gets out of control, and I'm not able to control everything and be everywhere, and it was horrible. And now when I started working on qualities, and even though I didn't get to 100% of all of my qualities, and I'm like, okay, it's fine. I'm a human being. This is my own journey, and I don't have to, do exactly. I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to compare myself to other people. I'm just pursuing what and doing what I can, and then I will perfect what I can, and that's it. And also, another positive thing is that I'm more open for feedback, and it doesn't give me this like cringe feeling. There's like this is also something really good, because I was super bad. I thought that I was always open for feedback, and people would ask me, are you open for feedback to give it to you right now? I'm like, yeah, sure, but what else can you say, right? And then when I would receive some sort of negative feedback, I would have like really really bad feelings, like really like, or was kind of almost counter arguing, depending of course who I was talking to, probably not to my manager, but it was always like I was defensive, very defensive. I was trying to do it in a nice kind of polite way. Okay, fair point, but but I did it, I had the reason, this kind of. And now I'm like, everything is valid, as we also learned that everything has a positive intent, and I truly believe that all people surrounding you have positive intent, and they're just trying to show you what you are capable of, and that's that. Yeah, I think those that just came to my mind.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Great shares. And just one last question. What would you say to someone who's considering working with their self-concept, joining, working with, just our self-concept research group?
I think everyone should really do it. Like, honestly, and I'm so grateful that I discovered now when I'm 31 and not when I'm 70. But it's really, I have like, wow, I have such a great advantage, and this was really eye-opening. This is amazing for everyone, regardless what you do in life. Like, it's really for yourself, for your personal growth, and yeah, it's just, I can't recommend it more.
Okay, so we still have a couple of minutes left on the break that we were having, but go ahead and come back. And let's see. All right, we'll give it about another minute. So somebody asked, if my values are sparse in the things I do in my life, and it happens that I'm chasing one more than the other four as a matter of necessity, how will this affect me? Well, so you're going to learn a lot more about this when we do the exercise that we're about to do. And what you will realize, especially as you understand the levels of values, higher levels, mid-level, lower level values. The lower you go on the logical levels of your values, meaning how much you value them, how much fulfillment they provide for you, the more you will start to realize that those can actually come into conflict. So like the difference between being maybe serious and humorous. But on a higher logical level, higher values, those two fit together. So what you're going to learn to do is to be able to move through your values. And when you feel like you're stuck, when you feel like two values are, I can't do both at the same time, then you go to a higher logical level with a higher value. And when you do that, you'll start to understand how those two can integrate together. So ultimately, when you think about like big values like joy, happiness, peace, those values are never going to conflict. Those values themselves never conflict. Now, the strategies in which you're going after pursuing those values might conflict. And if they are, then that's an opportunity to then go up to those higher values because you realize your strategy is not working, and then change the strategy, one that fits better with fulfilling multiple values at one time. And this is really the key to creating that life that you want to live, is bringing all of this together, consolidating the things that you're doing in your life to align with your values. When you do that, nothing will ever be the same again. Okay, we are ready to go. So let's continue. Hope you had a nice break and that you feel refreshed, ready to go. Let's start getting into vision. Now, I had been taught so for years in my life how important having a vision is. Yet no one seemed to really understand it. And I think vision boards is a way that people don't really understand how to create a vision, so they default to this thing called a vision board. We'll come back to that later. I agree. It is super important to have a vision. What I have not seen is anyone teach how to generate that vision, how to create that vision in a very authentic way that you can be congruent with it and align with it. And that's what I'm going to show you here. Well, let's just get into the importance of a vision. Oh, by the way, these are the other two modules that we'll be teaching as we go forward. Vision, overcome, transform. We're going to start with vision. So what is the importance of a vision? If you don't have a vision for what you want for your life to be like, you're leaving it up to chance that you might haphazardly and accidentally stumble across it. I don't know about you, but I'm not willing to leave my life's fulfillment up to chance. I want to create my life. I want to know where I'm going, right? And so I'm sure you do too. And you want to know that it's going to be fulfilling. How many of you actually have a vision for your life, or at least a vision for a particular context in your life? How well is it working? Now, because I talk to a lot of people who are in personal development, I talk to them about this and I ask them about their vision. And they're, oh yeah, I have a vision. And when I start asking more questions, I realize, I don't think they do. Or they don't have a very clear vision, or they don't have a vision that they feel very connected to. And putting it on a two-dimensional board generated by images that are not your own, meaning they're off of the internet or from a magazine, I don't know, that's not very compelling. At least it never has been for me. Most of us are functioning from a I will believe it when I see it mentality. Okay. People who have been wounded, people who are mired in resentment, and I am one of those people. I've recovered from a lot of this stuff. We come from that attitude of, I've tried so hard, I've tried so many things and nothing works. And so I'm at this place now where I just don't believe it. But, I'd be willing to be convinced. And that's where we're coming from. That applied to certain things in life, I think has its utility, has its use. But when it comes to creating your life, you're the one responsible for it. You're the one responsible for creating that life. So when we sit back and say, well, I'll wait for life to show it to me, we disempower ourselves. We put ourselves in a very passive state. And we need to be in a very engaged state. And this is why most people are not fulfilling their potential. It's a I'll wait and see way. And I believe it was Wayne Dyer. I know with quotes, it's really hard to find the origin of the quote. I'm going to attribute it to Wayne Dyer. I actually got to see him in person give a talk, of course, before he died. And he said, try on this. I will see it when I believe it. And so what your vision is it's a kind of, I believe it now. I'm seeing it. And so now because I can see it, now I believe in it. If you can't see where you're going, you're likely not going to take a step out into the darkness. You won't take risks. You will stick to only what you know and not grow. Because this is the big scary thing for a lot of people. It's this idea of like, I'm going to step out into this unknown to go do something I've never done before, putting me out of my comfort zone. Why would I do that? Well, if you have a compelling vision of where that will take you, then you will find the courage. However, if you know what your core values are and you've created a vision based on them, your vision will light the way, even in the darkest of times. Imagine always having a lighted pathway showing you the right direction, especially when times are tough and confusing. A vision based on your values will always point you in the right direction, your direction. And it will happen even when you don't realize it. This is the power of your unconscious. When you generate a vision based on your values, meaning you're aligned with this is what you want, this is what you value, this is not people outside of you, your society, your culture, whatever, telling you what's important. This is coming from you. When you generate that vision based on your values, now your unconscious has it. Meaning that even when you're not consciously focused on it, even when you're not trying to succeed and you're grinding it out and you're pushing yourself, this is in your unconscious now. And your unconscious is going to take you there. It's going to keep bringing you to the light and the clarity that you have about the direction you want to go forward. Your unconscious is your ally, not your enemy. So I will talk about, maybe I jumped the gun here a little bit. How did I come about this, or how did I come to understand this? And what I'm going to explain to you is not something that's unique to me, and I know this now because I teach this, which is what I'm teaching you now, and other people are making this happen. So about, I would say 7 or 8 years ago, no, a little bit longer, more like 9 or 10 years ago, and I was doing a lot of this work. It was before I was an established teacher. But I was doing a lot of the work on myself, more so than teaching it and more so than coaching it. So I was very well aware of my values. I hadn't created a vision from my values like I'm going to show you here. But it was a question from a friend of mine that triggered a vision to appear in my mind. And if I hadn't been clear about my values before this, it would not have happened. So I was very clear about my values. And this friend of mine says, Damon, if you had more money than you could ever spend, what would you do with your life? And that really engaged my values. I already knew what they were. I felt them, and an image appeared, a movie appeared in my mind. And I started telling my friend, giving him the answer based on what I was seeing. And so I said, well, I would travel the world, especially old historical places. I love history. I would learn about the history of these places, and I would also dabble in learning languages. And it just came so clear to me, and I could see it. I could see the ancient ruins I was walking around. And I could also see I was with a woman I didn't know at this point because I wasn't married. I was divorced at this time. I wasn't dating anyone. And so this just all came to me. And this happens to you all the time. Somebody asks you a question or something like that, and you don't even realize that you're seeing an unconscious vision in your mind or image in your mind, and that's what we base our answers on. And we don't even think about it consciously. That's how we just talk. We answer the question. But I remember being conscious of what I was seeing as I was telling this to him. I do NLP. We're conscious of our internal images and movies and all that. And then a few years later, I'm walking through ancient Rome, through the ruins, and I started having deja vu. And I was like, okay, I've never been here before. First time ever being in Rome. And this is weird. Why am I having deja vu? It's not like I've walked around here before and they're like, oh yeah, I was here last summer or something like that. And I was there with my girlfriend, who is now my wife, and she kind of matched the description of what I saw in my vision. And I realized I had just stepped into that vision. And it gave me chills. I was like, whoa, this is actually happening now. I saw this in my mind, and now it's happening. Now, what makes this different from any other vision you might have? Because a lot of times people in this whole vibrational manifestation thing is like, well, if I just visualize it, it's going to happen. No, 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 no. And in fact, you don't want that. I have seen images in my mind that are things that I would never want to happen in real life. You know, especially things that our fears are based on. When we're afraid, you got to think about, well, what am I paying attention to in my mind? What representations am I making that's causing that fear? We definitely don't want that to come true, do we? And sometimes they do, because we hyperfixate on the things that we're afraid of. But when you're connected with your values, you're clear about your values, you know what they are, and you generate images from those values, then your unconscious goes, yeah, let's create that. And so here I had stepped into my vision, was now living it, very fulfilled by it. And I thought to myself, I want to go back, I want to backtrack and figure out how I created this, how I did that. And this is very NLP. How do we create a success in our life? And then how do we model that and then transfer it? And transfer could mean transferring it to someone else or replicating that success. So since then, I've replicated this and created more visions and keep doing this process. And I'm not the only one. Other people are doing this. So what we need to learn now is how to go from a want to your values. Okay? A lot of people think they know what their values are. I assure you, most of you don't, unless you've done this work before. Then we want to understand the hierarchy of those values. Why is that important? Well, that will show you what to prioritize, what is more important to you, because you're going to be faced with some tough decisions in life. And then we create that vision based on these values. And that's what we're going to do. So think about something you want in the next 3 years. A goal you want to achieve, a material possession you would like to own, or an experience you would like to have. Now, it's very important that we get this rooted in something tangible, okay? Meaning, you know for certain that you either got it or you didn't, okay? So just saying, well, I want to be happy in the next 3 years, that's not specific enough. We need, so you want a specific, we're going to get to happy, we're going to get to values, don't worry about that. But we want to root this in something tangible. And here's the thing, you can change it. You're not going to be stuck with just this one thing. And in fact, you will probably, about half of you will change your original goal by the time we're done, okay? But to get started here, you want to choose something that you want that is an achievement in the sense of a third party could verify it. Like if you were running a race and your goal was to complete the race, a third party, meaning someone not you, could verify that you crossed that finish line, right? It actually happened, it's real. Or a material possession, like I want a house, I want a car, and a spouse isn't a material possession, but let's say you want to get married or you want to find a partner to share your life with. That is verifiable, that is real, that is tangible. And when I say experience, this is like a thing that you would actually do. So if you want the experience of traveling the world and that's your goal, that could be verified, that is tangible. Somebody could see you doing that. It's not just like whatever you're experiencing inside of you, like, oh, I just want to be happy. And then, so we need something more tangible than just that. What is it, and how would you know it if you had it? As in, what would you see, hear, or be able to touch that lets you know that you now have it? You now have the thing that you want. And another way to think about it is, like I keep mentioning, the third-party verification that you got what you want. So if you're going to say, I want blank, then think, if I called you up and said, did you get it? Did you have it? And you said yes, and I would say, okay, show it to me. Or, you know, show me some evidence that it happened. If it was like a trip you took, then you could show me the pictures. Or If it was a money goal, you could show me your bank account that before you had this amount, now you have this amount, right? So we want to ground this in something tangible. This is one of the problems that a lot of people have, is they just want things, but they don't have a way of knowing that they have it. They don't have a tangible knowing that they have it. So this is how the questions go. If you have the PDF that I mentioned earlier, this is going to look familiar. So what do you want? How will you know it when you have it? That's how we bring it into tangible, objective reality, right? What will that do for you? This is where we start to, once you have the tangible, this is where we start to lean into the values, okay? So someone here says, I want a fulfilling career where I make a difference. Okay, be specific about the career. What is the career that you want? Okay? Because up until that point, it's not tangible enough. So what is the career that you want? I want to be a coach. I want to be a teacher. I want to be a YouTuber. I want to be a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. Okay? You want enough of those specifics to root that in reality. And then we ask, what would that do for me? What's important to me about this? And with each new answer you get, you apply the same question again. So, I want to make $1 million in a year. What will that do for me? It would make me feel secure. Great. What's important about feeling secure? It makes me feel at ease. Great. Well, what's important about you feeling at ease? I can finally relax. What is important about relaxing? I feel at peace. What's important about peace? It makes me happy. Okay, I'm not saying that you should value those same things. I'm just giving you an example of how this works. So what you want must be stated in the positive, meaning what you want versus what you don't want. Because a lot of times, not so much anymore, but I used to have clients when first session I'd have it with them, and this is what I always ask. First session is always the same question. What do you want? I can't help you if you don't want anything. So what do you want? And I used to, this doesn't happen as much anymore. Maybe people watch my videos a lot before they come to me for the first session. When I would ask that question, a lot of times people would respond with what they don't want. And I'd say, okay, that tells me right away part of what the problem is. Maybe they don't know what they want. Maybe they're too focused on what they don't want, which is a big problem for a lot of people. If you're only focused on what you don't want, how are you ever going to go toward what you do want? You're too busy trying to move away from what you don't want. So I would explain this to the person. I'd say, okay, I understand. It's good to know what you don't want. It's good to acknowledge it. What do you want instead? And I'm not kidding. I had sessions where the entire session was just around getting that person to finally shift their attention to what they do want. And part of it was they didn't know because they were hyper-focused, always focused on what they didn't want. You can't move toward what you want if you're only focused on what you don't want. So for some of you, this is going to be a very important first step. Shifting your attention to what you want. So I want blank. What will blank do for you? It will give me whatever the value comes up for you. And then you just ask, and what's important about that? And keep going. Don't stop. Don't stop once you get one value. This is more complex than that. Okay? So some of you might be wondering, well, you keep using this word value. I'm not sure I quite know what it means. All right, so I'll give you the definition, the best definition that I can think of. It doesn't come from me, it comes from my mentor, Steve Andreas. A value is a generalization about an experience that's important to you. It's that simple. If you value the experience of being happy, because you've experienced happiness before, and that experience is important to you, you generalize those experiences into what we call a value. You've experienced the experience, you know that you value it, you know it's important to you, so you've created the generalization, happiness is valuable to me. It is a value. Now, the same can be said about freedom, joy, peace, determination, playfulness, fun, spontaneity, loyalty. So this is what we're eliciting. So a few examples. I don't want you to use these if they don't come up for you naturally. I'm just giving this to you as a way to understand what it is you're looking for. So examples of values would be like peace, love, joy, freedom, passion, fun, creativity, growth, humor, playfulness, happiness, authenticity, kindness, love, empowerment. Now, I don't want you to, in fact, I'm going to back away from this. A lot of times people ask me that, hey, why don't you just give me a list of values and I'll pick the ones off the list. And it's like, okay, look, this is not a restaurant. This is not about picking your values off of a menu just like you would do with food. This is about the experience of eliciting the value from yourself. And you cannot get that from someone else. You cannot get that from someone giving it to you. Okay? So it's not just about finding the value. It's about the connection with that value that you get when it comes from your unconscious into consciousness. This is super important. This is 80% of the exercise. Okay? So just knowing what the value is not enough. Because like I said, I could give you a list, you could pick it off the list, and I guarantee you it won't have, you won't have the connection with it that you have when you elicit it, when it comes out of your own unconscious. And what you're realizing is that all of your decisions and your choices are driven by the fulfillment of a value or the attempt to fulfill a value. We don't do anything. We don't take any action. We don't do any behavior without it being driven by an intention, also known as a value. Now, you might say, well, what about this bad habit that I have? Or what about this thing that I do that, I don't know why I do it. Well, I assure you, in your unconscious, you might not be conscious of it, in your unconscious, it's being driven by a value, something that you want to fulfill. And so you might pick a habit like something that's not really a bad habit. Maybe it's not doing anything really negative in your life, but it's also not doing anything positive, and you don't know why you do it. And so you would challenge me and say, well, that has no value in it. And if I were to work with you, I guarantee you we could elicit values from that. And what a lot of sort of meaningless habits like that with a value in them is usually comfort and familiarity. Just doing something that feels familiar to you is comforting, and comfort is a value. It's not a good one. We need some of it. We all need a certain amount of comfort, just like we all need a certain amount of security. But if we really try to only align with that value of comfort, which a lot of people try this, there's not much fulfillment in it. And so it loses its fulfillment, but you keep trying to get back to it. And so you keep doubling down, tripling down, quadrupling down on comfort. And the only thing that it's really doing is it's making you very uncomfortable. And I had a friend like this who basically created his own business, but he was the only person working in it, so he didn't have any employees. And he started going in that direction of comfort. Well, I don't have to go to work. I can turn away work. I can go, play my guitar, or go do something else for fun. I'm going to go toward comfort and away from the things that I need to do, higher values. And after a while, he put himself in a very uncomfortable situation where he couldn't pay his bills. And now he was going to have to get out there and really hustle hard, or he was going to have to declare bankruptcy. And so we want to be careful about these values that we choose. More importantly than that, we want to go really deep, because those deeper values, beyond comfort, to really high level values, peace, joy, happiness, those things that are really, really important to you, that have the most fulfillment in them when you pursue them. That's what we're really looking for. We don't want to stop short. So I also want to give you some values to watch out for. These are values that are really too general to be useful. They're not bad. We all want this. But if you just answer that question, well, what's important to me about, achieving whatever, and all you do is answer it with one of these and you stop, you're not going to go very far. There's a lot of missing information. So values like fulfillment, meaning, purpose, contentment, confidence. Okay, it's very easy to just say, yeah, that's what I want, and that's why I'm going after this. But they're so general, all right? They don't tell us much good information. It's hard to align your behavior to this. If I said, okay, go do fulfillment, or go do meaning, or go do purpose, contentment, or confidence, you wouldn't know what to do because it's just too general, too vague. What these words are, they are the consolidation of you fulfilling multiple high-level values. When you fulfill multiple high-level values, you're going to feel fulfilled. You're going to feel like your life has meaning. You're going to feel more purposeful and content and confident. These are all byproducts of fulfilling your values. What if you have too many? You don't have too many values. You're going to have many. Sometimes a lot are going to come up with a particular goal, and sometimes not that many are going to come up with a particular goal. But like I said, everything you do is driven by a value. So of course you're going to have a lot of them. Security is not a real value. It is a value, very similar to comfort. There's not a lot of fulfillment in it. If you think about it, first of all, we have to feel a certain amount of security before we can do anything. If we don't feel secure, like if our life is under threat, okay, we're not going to be thinking about happiness and joy and peace. We're going to be thinking about survival. And that's what we should be thinking about, right? But most of you are not in a situation where your life is being threatened, and yet you're hyperfixated on security. Why? Because it has nothing to do with whether or not you're actually safe. The security you're referring to is something we call self-worth. And I'm here to tell you, and I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, there is no such thing as self-worth. There is no way to measure your value. There's no way to measure your worth. And as long as you pass your reality through that limiting concept, it is always going to torment you. Okay? So unless you are in the middle of a war, like a real war, bombs dropping around you, or you're in some really dangerous, crime-ridden, violent place where you do actually have to fear for your physical safety, safety should not be on your list. I mean, again, like I said, it's, yes, you need to feel a certain amount of safety. But when people who have their bills paid, have a roof over their head, tell me that safety is really important to them, like that's their highest value, then I go, okay, well, that tells me right away you're paying a lot of attention to what scares you. And it's unfounded. Your life is not being threatened. You're not under threat of being put out on the street and not having a home. You're not under threat of losing your loved ones. So you got safety down. You don't need more safety. That's not going to get you where you want to go. All right? So yes, it's a value because safety is a generalization about an experience that is important to you. But if you're focusing on safety and you have all those other things down, you're not under threat of death or losing all of your money or losing all of your loved ones, you're wasting your time. Put your attention on the next level. The next level meaning what's going to make you happy and joyful and really engaged in life. But if you're focused on safety, that means you're focusing on thoughts that scare you. And because you're focused on that, you can't see beyond them, which means you're not tapping into your potential and you're not moving yourself toward greater and greater fulfillment. And I even talk about this here, or I mentioned this here, values that are traps. These are traps. Watch out for these. They sound good, and even a lot of personal development teachers are promoting them, but they are traps. Things like respect, power, status, self-love, pride, discipline, and willpower. Now you might be thinking exactly that. How could these things be bad? So is respect bad? No, I enjoy respect. When someone respects you, that feels good, right? However, if you go chasing respect, if you go looking for respect, if the things that you do are you trying to fulfill respect, meaning getting respect from other people, first of all, it's not something you control. because it requires someone else to give it to you. And because you don't have any control over this, meaning you can't just go and take action and fulfill respect, then you have to start people pleasing. You start to, now your validation is hung on the opinions and the thoughts of others, which, by the way, are going to be different from person to person. So that it creates more chaos here. So I'm not saying you shouldn't enjoy respect. If someone gives you respect, appreciate it. Just don't go looking for it. Power. What about power? People go, yeah, I want to be in my power, right? Well, empowered is a great one, because that is really coming from you when you feel empowered, right? But power always implies power over something, okay? So we don't want to get into this superiority, inferiority problem. It is a real problem. So if I want power, the implication there is that I have power over something, okay? Now, some people will tell me, well, no, I don't want power over other people. And I'll say, okay, well, what do you want power over? And well, I want power over myself and power over my life. And I would tell them right there, that's going to create a problem. You don't want power over yourself. That implies that there's a part of you that does the overpowering and part of you that has to be overpowered. And that's a delusional split that creates a conflict within you. So we don't want to do that either. And then the person will often say to me at this point, well, I just want to be capable. That's how I mean power. I want to be capable. And I say, just go with capable. There's no point in having to bring in power. Just you want to feel capable, that if there's something you need to learn, if there's a problem to solve, if there's an obstacle to overcome, that you want to feel capable to be able to handle that and do that, right? Yes. Well, what do you need power for? You don't. So leave it out. It just has too many negative implications. Status has the same problem as respect. You can appreciate status. Doesn't mean that you shouldn't have status. It just means that if you go pursuing that, it's going to be very empty. It's going to make you very anxious, very insecure, because validation of status has to come from other people. You can't just do status. Self-love, first of all, love is an amazing value. It's definitely something very fulfilling to fulfill, to align with. But when we say self-love, I know where this comes from, and I thought this before too, and especially it's unfortunate, but in the world of personal development, you'll hear no shortage of people saying, oh, you just need to love yourself. So that's like an overcorrection for a lot of people. You might be one of those people who has given a lot of your love to a lot of people around you, and that's a wonderful thing. And at the same time, you've left yourself out. You don't include yourself in that love. And so that takes a lot of effort actually to do that, because the truth is, if you say you love people, you are a person too, okay? So that's one thing. So if you exclude yourself from your own love, that doesn't make any sense, okay? Love is, by definition, all-encompassing, right? It has no opposite. So you are the source of that love. So why would you ever exclude yourself? And when people do this, and then they hear the message, you need to love yourself, or you need self-love, then it creates another one of those splits. There's the part of you that goes, oh, well, this is the part that does the loving, and this is the part that receives the love. How do I get this part to love this other part? And it's like, this is maddening. This is crazy. Like, just pull the plug on the split, the delusion, the illusion of separation. That's not what love is about. Love is about inclusion, and you are the source of that love. So just don't exclude yourself, or just don't indulge in the illusion that you are excluded or that there is a separation. And then love is whole again. And it's not just concentrated on self, because this becomes very self-absorbed when we try to really focus on pursuing self-love. So just take the self off of it and just do love. Pride has all the same problems as power. It's a hyperfixation on all of the things that are positive about you, to the exclusion of connection with others and the help that others have given you, and all of the wonderful things that leads us to expand into gratitude. Pride will stifle that. It's very self-important. But if it comes up in your values elicitation, one of the things you can do is just say, okay, if I were to remove the self-important aspects of pride, what am I left with? And that usually you'll find 1 or 2, maybe even 3 really good values there. Discipline and willpower. If you feel the need to discipline yourself to do something or will yourself to do it, there's something not right there. Okay, and when people bring up discipline and willpower, well, I just have to, discipline myself or self-discipline. I ask them what image comes to mind when they think about that. And oftentimes they will think of their parents or a teacher or both disciplining them. And that's actually what I think about too. And so if that's what you're thinking about when you think about having to discipline yourself, is that something you really want? Is that what you want to create in your life? And what this often leads into is, and a lot of people are doing this, and it's good to become aware of this so that you can stop doing it. A lot of people are parenting themselves. You go through life as a kid, you become an adult, you go out into the world. What's missing? You're missing that element of parental, that parental oversight. And so what do? You actually you kind of give birth to a part of you that does that parenting for you. And so it's kind of intuitive, it kind of makes sense. It usually happens for people without them realizing it, but it's not healthy. You don't want to be having this sort of back and forth within yourself of parent and child. You want to be you, a grown adult who's unified, who doesn't have any internal conflicts, so that you are clear about what you want. And when you are clear about what you want, you don't need to discipline yourself to do it. You don't need willpower to do it. And how I demonstrate this with clients a lot of times, because I have clients who are really fixated on this. So no, Damon, I think you're wrong about this. I need discipline and willpower. And then I'll say, do you brush your teeth? And they'll say, yes. Every day? Yes. Twice a day? Yes. For how long have you been doing this? Ever since I can remember. And then I'll say, how did you ever get the discipline and willpower to do that? And so consistently throughout so many years of your life. And they'll say, well, it doesn't take willpower and discipline. And they'll say, exactly. So how is it you're able to do that without willpower and discipline? And then we talk it out a little bit. They're clear about the value in brushing their teeth. They don't want to lose their teeth. They want good smelling breath, right? They don't want to deter people. They want a nice feeling in their mouth rather than rotting teeth and bad breath and all that. So they're very clear about what they want. And there's no negotiating in that. There's no resistance to that. And in that sense, it's a commitment, like I was mentioning before. So when you are clear about what you want without any resistance, you don't need willpower. You don't need discipline. And if you did use willpower and discipline to get what you want, that means you had to override a part of yourself. You had to submit a part of yourself. You had to beat down a part of yourself to achieve what you wanted to achieve. That's not going to be fulfilling, because fulfillment is a whole body experience, a whole, and body is not even the right word, a whole existence experience, not a divided experience, not where one part of you wins over, beats down another part of you. You both lose, right? So understanding this, understand that it's about getting clear about what you want. And when you're clear about what you want, you don't have to worry about motivation. The motivation is there. If you were hungry and you're starving, you haven't eaten in days, and I put your favorite food in front of you, would you then go, yeah, I don't know if I have the willpower, the discipline to eat this food? Or even worse, I think I'm afraid of success, so I'm not going to do this. No, you would eat the food, and you wouldn't have to worry about motivation, because you're very clear about what you want. There's the need, and then the desire, and then you just do it. All right. How's everybody doing on their values? I saw a lot of comments coming through. I probably can't really stop and answer all of them. No, I think persistence is a good value, because it doesn't imply that you have to beat down part of yourself. In fact, that's a very high value of mine, is persistence. It's gotten me to many wonderful things in my life because I persisted. You want to persist with your values. Be willing to quit on your goals because the goal might not be aligned with your values. It might not be fulfilling your values. So be willing to quit on a goal, but never quit on your values. Always persist with your values. Please explain how security is about self-worth. Well, if you are safe physically, your life is not under threat, and your well-being is not under threat in the sense of like you're not being put out on the street, you're not being starved, you're not, any of those things, then what could that security be protecting? It's not your physical well-being. It's not like your mental well-being in the sense of like you have everything that you need. So what would security be about at that point? It's about protecting your ego. It's about protecting a fragile sense of self. But when your sense of self is strengthened and you have a solid sense of self, there's nothing to protect. It's just you. So that kind of security that is beyond, once the physical part is safe, your focus on security is about protecting an idea, the idea of who you are. And if you have to protect that, then something's wrong. Courage is good. So some people are making some statements here that I don't quite agree with. Courage is not about having to overcome part of yourself. Courage is about understanding fear and doing it anyway, because you know that whatever it is that you want to do is worth to you more than what you're afraid of. So somebody says freedom, authenticity, openness, receptivity, empowerment. Okay, those sound pretty good to me. Though I don't know, I mean, if you understand the difference between openness and receptivity, if there's a difference to you there and you know what that difference is, then good. If not, you might want to check in with that. Are they the same thing to you? Activeness, that's more about something you do, that's not a value. So I would ask you, well, what is important to you about activeness? Resilience is great. Yes, resilience is a wonderful value. Fear definitely blocks motivation. So if you're constantly paying attention to all of the things that scare you, you're not going to feel very motivated to go toward the things that you want. You're going to be motivated to pull away. And that's the problem with fear. Fear, fear as an alarm system is really important. It's a good thing that we have fear because that, prevents us from doing things that might harm us, right? So here's what I say about fear. So if we hold on to fear, it turns into anxiety. And anger is similar in the sense that it's a good alarm system, but it's not something we want to hold on to, because when we hold on to anger, it becomes resentment. And these things will actually physically harm you if you hold on to them for long enough. So what I tell people about fear and anger is it's like an alarm clock, as I mentioned, or it's like an alarm, but let's bring it into like a real metaphor. So if fear and anger are like an alarm clock, and when that alarm wakes you up, it wakes you up to something you need to pay attention to, or something you need to change, right? When you hear the alarm, you come awake, and then you pay attention to what you need to pay attention to. In this case, what you fear, or what's making you angry. And in some cases, you might realize, okay, that's really nothing to be afraid of, or that's nothing to get angry at, and then you're good. Or you realize I need to do something, and so the fear, the anger triggers you. Well, it wakes you up, alerts you to take some action, and you take that action, and then things are okay now. But that's not what most people do. What most people do is they carry the fear or the anger with them all the time. And so that would be similar to your alarm goes off, it wakes you up, you don't turn it off. You carry it around with you all day. And when people are coming up to you and saying, hey, that's really annoying, why don't you shut that thing off? your reply is, well, just in case I fall asleep, I'm going to let it keep going. That's what we are doing when we carry fear and anger with us, when we carry it around with us. So it's not a bad thing in the sense that we need it to alert us to something we need to take care of. So go take care of that thing. And then make sure you shut off the alarm. But most people are not turning off the alarm, and so they keep it with them, and that's why it turns into resentment and it turns into anxiety. All right, let's see. I think you guys are getting it. Flow, strength, resilience, creativity, femininity, radiance. I've never seen femininity come up as a value. I guess it, depends on what it is, what the context is. But that would make sense. As long as it's appropriate for the context, that's fine. And as long as you understand for yourself what femininity is, because that's highly interpretive. And it doesn't matter what other people say about it, it's what it means to you. That's the most important thing. That's your values. It's about what your values mean to you, not what the dictionary or society or culture, how it defines how it defines that particular value. Let's see, freedom and security, which I think go together. Yeah, so of course they're connected. All your values are connected. But security is at like the bottom, and freedom would be more at the top. Okay, let's see. How can resilience be a good value? Or are we not suppressing our emotions? Can you be resilient without suppressing your emotions? I think you can. Resilience just means that, an obstacle comes your way, you get thrown a curveball, something happens unexpectedly, and you readjust, and then you go back toward getting or doing what it is that you want to do. I don't understand why you would need to suppress any emotion to do that. That might be how you're doing it, and if you are, I would say, well, don't do that. There's no, when you have to suppress anything, then we're back into that whole willpower discipline thing. All right, motivation, drive, perseverance, looks good to me. Attunement, okay, fine. So you should have at least 3 to 5 high-level values, meaning that you're probably going to have more than that overall, okay? And then we want to get into the hierarchy of your values, and that is the order of importance of your values for a particular goal or context. So if you knew your deepest values, driving your behavior, your choices and your decisions in every area of your life, and you knew the order of importance of those values, how good would you be at making great decisions? You're going to be really good at making very clear decisions based on what is most important to you. So yeah, you would make incredibly good decisions. So let's say you want to make $1 million next year, and you ask yourself what's important to you about that, and what will that do for you, until you've enlisted at least 5 very powerful values. So this is just an illustration. I'm just doing this for illustration purposes. I'm not telling you that you need to have these values. But based on that goal, if I wanted to achieve that goal, and this is the values that I've elicited, here's how I would do the hierarchy. I would start with peace, and then I would go, okay, out of peace and passion, in this goal, and the context of this goal is very important when you're doing the hierarchy, to make sure you're staying within the context of your goal, okay? Because if you don't, your mind's going to start wandering into different contexts, and in different contexts, we have different values. We might have some of the same values, but the hierarchy is going to be different. So that's going to get really confusing for you. Don't do that. Keep it to the context. So in this context of this goal, out of peace and passion, which one is more important to me? And when I'm asking that question, which one's more important to me, what I'm asking is, which one has greater fulfillment for me in this area? Okay, not which one comes first. This is a problem that a lot of people have. They think in terms of linear progression. Well, I must be, so what I often see is people put security at the top and freedom at the bottom. It's like, there's no way. Okay, and the reason why they think that is because they must first feel secure before they can ever get to freedom. And that makes sense. Yes, we all need a certain amount of security. Okay, there's no arguing there. But which one has greater fulfillment in it. I guarantee you it's not going to be found in security. Security, if you got stuck at security and that's all you stayed at as a value, then how do you get fulfillment out of that? You don't. But you can try. You can, hire a bodyguard, wear a bulletproof vest. Like, how far do you want to take that? There's not much fulfillment in it. Security is boring if you only stay at security. Security enables you to then go to higher and higher values, okay? So within freedom, for example, it's implied that there's a certain amount of security there. That's why it's a larger category. So we're looking for the larger categories here. So I'd go out of peace and passion, which one's more important? Well, for me, peace is more important, especially as it relates to this particular goal. And then I would say, okay, out of peace and freedom, which one's more important? And actually, freedom would win in this case. So I put peace down for now, and I pick up freedom, and I continue on with freedom. Out of freedom and joy, which one's more important to me? In this case, it's freedom. Out of freedom and love, which one's more important to me? This is not my marriage. So in this particular goal, freedom is more important. That's why it's so important to keep it to the context. And then I go back to peace, because peace lost to freedom, and I pick up where I left off with peace. Out of peace and joy, which one's more important? Peace wins again. Out of peace and love, which one's more important? Again, it's peace. So then I put a 2 next to it, okay? And then I continue on with passion, and then I start comparing those. So I keep putting a number next to each one as it gets a ranking, okay? And then I reorder them. And so now I have my hierarchy. I know which values are most important to me in this area of my life or with this particular goal. Knowing this, decisions that I make as I work toward achieving this goal, I know which ones, if I have 3 options in front of me, 3 possible choices I can make, the one I'm going to choose is the one that gives me the most amount of my highest values. Which one includes the most amount of my highest values? Most people don't understand their values. So when they go into making, especially big decisions, and there's multiple options, they don't know what to pick because most of the time, all 3 options or more has some of their values, but they don't know to what, which values, and they don't know how important those values are. So this is why we want to have this hierarchy. So this is going to help inform us what are the best decisions for me to make. The more I can align my decisions and my choices with my highest values, the better the decision. The more in alignment with who I am making that decision. Make sense? Altruism, yeah, if that's very fulfilling for you, that you can definitely go with that. But normally altruism has more to do with, I would ask the question, what is important to you about altruism? And see what information you uncover there. How many values should one focus on and cultivate? It's not a matter of how much you should focus on. It's a matter of finding out what's already in there. That's why it's an elicitation. And once you connect with these, it's not like you have to stay focused on them all the time. So it's more about understanding yourself. You've been making decisions based on these values already throughout your entire life. Now it's time to understand it. And by bringing it into consciousness, you can make more conscious decisions, meaning making better decisions because now you're involving also your conscious mind. Authenticity, empowerment, openness, receptivity, freedom. Okay, sounds good to me. So do we outline all categories of life, career, relationships, financial health? Yes. Yes. So people will say, so what do I just do this and stick with this? What about the other areas of my life, or what about other goals? Absolutely. Do this same process on your other goals. Do this same process in other areas, all of the major areas of your life. I mean, isn't that super important to know what you value in each area of your life, or if, as it relates to a goal, that you know what is important to you about the achievement of that goal, so that you're making really good decisions about that. Let's see. For decisions related to the goal are now more general once you have the hierarchy, self-awareness. I don't know what you're trying to say. No, they're not more general. If you have decisions, that's something specific. And if you're not connecting those to your values, then you could easily make a choice or a decision that violates your values. It happens all the time. And that's why people will lose motivation toward getting what they want, because they don't understand it. They don't understand what's driving them to want what they want. What happens when you do the same process on two areas and the values are in totally different order? Well, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you say, okay, what happens when you do this same process? Well, I mean, nothing has happened. So I think from some of the questions I'm seeing here, there seems to be a misunderstanding about you uncovering something versus you creating something. Okay, we haven't created anything yet. This has only been elicitation. You're just finding out what is driving you. You're not creating that. Just because you're able to put a word now to those intentions that have been driving you, that doesn't mean you're creating anything. You're just uncovering what has been driving you. So when you do a values elicitation and a hierarchy in different areas of your life, you're going to find some values do cross over. You're going to have some overlap. You're never going to find 100% of the same values in one context as in another. I've never seen that before. And you're also going to have, like I said, a different hierarchy. So like I mentioned, freedom when it comes to making money is going to be higher on my list than love is. But in my marriage, freedom is not as important. It's love is much more important. Okay? So what does that tell us? That tells us that we're complex beings, we're driven by different intentions, different values at different times and in different locations, different contexts. This is why Maslow's hierarchy, that pyramid, that's why it doesn't work. It's not real. Because we're not that strict. We're not that rigid that we fall under one hierarchy. We are governed by various hierarchies dictated by context and by our desires. There's not one set hierarchy. And so this is kind of a beautiful thing, like to know that we have this kind of flexibility, that we're not so rigid. For some, at first, this might seem a little chaotic, but it's the truth of who we are. So nothing happens just by realizing that you have different values in different areas and they have different hierarchies. This is just getting to know yourself. This is connecting with your motivation. It's also connecting with your value. Like this is, we're uncovering the source of all of your value. That's all we're doing right now. And when you do that, you're connecting with it. And so this is what really drives you. Two areas where the values are in conflict. So your highest values will never be in conflict. Lower level values will be in conflict at times. Lower level values, one of them being security. We've already talked a bit about that. So for example, security might come into conflict with fun. Something you want to do that is fun for the sake of fun might have a lot of risks involved. And that's where security is going to say, whoa, this conflicts with our value of security. So fun and security are very low level values. What do I mean by that? Like I mentioned before, you're not going to get much fulfillment out of security. Security is just enables you to reach higher values. Fun is the same thing. You have fun for a while, but if you compare fun to like peace and like really deep happiness, not the temporary happiness, but like being a happy person, fun is very temporary. Fun doesn't have much fulfillment in it. Okay, so on a lower level, yes, values will conflict, but it's more so the strategies that you have or that you're using to fulfill those values. That's really what conflicts more so than the values themselves. But if we go higher and higher to higher level values like freedom, joy, passion, peace, those values will never conflict. Only your strategies to fulfill them. And so what does that tell you? It's time to change your strategies. Throw your strategies out. Even throw your goals out. If your goals are conflicting, go to your higher values. That's where fulfillment is. Fulfillment is not going to be found in the achievement of goals. The only way that achieving a goal is fulfilling is if it's truly aligned with your values. Which comes first, goals or values? It's not about what comes first. It's about which one's more important. Your values are always more important. Because think about it. If I told you you could spend the rest of your life achieving every lofty goal you could even dream up, but you would never be fulfilled by it, it would always be empty. Versus you could live a life of fulfilling all of your values daily, and that would make you feel fulfilled every day of your life. But you might not achieve big, lofty goals. Which one would you choose? I mean, to me, it's obvious. Unfortunately, some people would actually choose the big, lofty goals with emptiness because what are they focused on? Status. They're focused on what other people think of them while they corrode inside and feel empty. And I just don't see the value in that. I would rather live a quiet, fulfilled life of never accomplishing anything huge as long as I was fulfilled every day of my life. But that's not usually how it happens, because when you're fulfilled, when you're aligning with your values, it's very active, it's very engaged. And so a byproduct of that is accomplishing really, I don't want to say big things or important things, but you tend to accomplish a lot when you have that level of engagement in your life. All right. What if I find my values that are only coming from your conscious mind? Well, it's all really one mind. We're going to talk about this tomorrow. It's okay. Don't drill down too much on that and overanalyze it. All right. Okay, it seems like you guys are really understanding it. How do we confirm it's a value versus a belief? Well, they're kind of the same thing in the sense that values and beliefs are all generalizations. So beliefs we just tend to think of as like, I believe that, and you kind of fill in the blank, whereas a value can just be the word. That's the only thing that I would think in this case would be the difference, but they're both generalizations. So values and beliefs, as far as logical levels are concerned, they're on the same logical level. All right. What about play? Play is definitely a value. Playfulness. Yeah. So essentially you're saying that we are after what we want to feel or experience from the value, not the goal itself. Yes, absolutely. Yes. Okay. Good. You can use the same line of questioning as you did with willpower to assess the hierarchy of values and those themselves. With willpower, no. I would. Willpower is just it's really toxic. So it implies that you have to overpower yourself. Okay. So if you're having to do that, something's not right. So we're going to address this a little bit more tomorrow. Is this one a value or habit? What is the difference between yeah, I wouldn't go with discipline either, for the same reason. We'll deal with this tomorrow. Travel, that's an activity. You'd want to know what is important to you about travel. Feeling worthy of receiving now without proving it would feel much better. Okay. Well, like I mentioned about the whole self-worth thing, we'll talk about this more tomorrow. I'm going to start. You guys are asking great questions, by the way, and you're asking the kinds of questions that a person would ask when they're actually doing the exercises here. So I commend you for that, and we're going to get to more of this tomorrow. Morality doesn't really have a place here. Not that morality is not important. It's just not what we're working on here. All right. Now for the final part of this particular process. Here's what we're going to do. Imagine there's a blank screen in front of you, or a canvas. It's empty. And this represents whatever area of your life you just elicited your values from. And if you're not sure about the area of life that it is, think about what the goal is, the original goal, and then ask yourself, okay, well, what area of life is this for me? So if your goal is a financial goal, obviously the area of your life is your finances. If it's a career goal, obviously the area of your life is your career. If it's a marriage goal, social life goal, whatever, just take whatever the goal is and realize, okay, well, what area of life this is for me. Okay, once you have that, then you're going to ask yourself, really important to ask it as a question and allow your mind to show it to you. What does, and then just ask yourself the value, what does it look like in this area of my life? So in this case, just what I'm using for illustration purposes, what would freedom look like in this area of my life? So it's a financial goal, so it's the area of my life is finances. So I'd say, well, what does freedom look like in this context of my life, in my finances? And then I keep adding my values to it, combining it, not taking one away or replacing it. We're adding, we're building. So I ask, what does freedom look like? And then I ask, well, what does peace look like in combination with freedom in this area of my life? What does love look like in this area of my life? What does joy combined with freedom, peace, love look like in this area of my life? So you just keep adding in your values. Now, if you're a very auditory person, maybe you need to lead with a more auditory way of doing this. You do want to end up with the visual though. Okay, we all visualize. Even if you're very auditory, even if you're very kinesthetic, we all visualize. And it's really important to visualize because visualizing, within the visual, you can bring together many pieces of information simultaneously that you can access simultaneously. You can't do that so much in auditory, and you can't do that so much with the kinesthetic. And also having a vision in front of you is what's going to guide you. It's what's going to tell you the direction you want to go. So go ahead and start creating that based on your values. And instead of trying to force it or generate it, it's better to just ask the question. What would, fill in the blank with the value, what would this look like in this area of my life? And then just keep adding them. And you have complete creative freedom here. It doesn't have to be strict, detailed, real life information. It could be abstract. It could be colors and shapes, and it might not even make a lot of sense to you. That's okay. That's okay. Just see what you see as you bring your values onto the canvas in this area of your life. So Tylerina, stick to one context. One where you want to create one vision per context. So if you elicited your values from the context of your marriage, then that's what you would do it in. If you elicited these values in the context of your career, then that's what you would do it. Keep everything separate. So you can elicit your values for each one of the contexts of your life and create a vision from each one of the contexts of your life. I wouldn't be trying to bring in other values from other contexts. Are values the same thing as Tony Robbins' human needs? Yes and no. What I don't agree with Tony Robbins is the things what he calls the human needs. It's hard to argue that that's probably important. All of those things are probably important to everyone, right? I don't like the, I'm Tony Robbins and here's what I'm saying should be important to you. If it's not, force yourself into this. I don't think that's the way to do this. The way to do it is to elicit from yourself what is important to you. And what he lists as the human needs will probably come up in some form. But now it's coming from you. It's not coming from someone else telling you, here's what should be important to you. The exercise of this is important. Nobody can give that to you. What you learn from this, what you experience from it, no one can give to you. Now, as you're creating this vision, you want to also add an image of yourself. Now, you might have already been in your vision as you were adding the values. What's important about this part of it, is adding a visual of yourself from just head to shoulders. And the importance of this is not seeing you doing any particular behavior. This is the you who's fulfilling this vision. This is the you who is aligned with and fulfilling all of your values here. And you don't need to be doing anything particular. You just need to see that you. See the you who is fulfilling these values, creating this in your life. What does he or she look like? Without having to do anything specific, what does he or she look like? And you want that image inside of your vision. Now, some people say, well, where do I put it in my vision and how big and all that? Experiment, play around with it. It's better that you have that ability to adjust as you go and sort this out. Which one, how is it that you set up your vision in such a way that makes it incredibly compelling to you? So you look at this vision and you go, yes, I want to be that person creating what's going on in this vision. Even if you're not certain of all that's going on, it doesn't matter. No worry. Don't apologize for asking questions. That's why you're here. You're here to learn. So I don't want anybody. I don't want anybody apologizing for asking questions. That's part of learning. Is the image of me looking like me, living these values, similar to the same state in the idealized image of the switch pattern? Yes, absolutely. We're harnessing the power of your ideal self-image. Yeah, you're just visualizing this, but again, if you're a very auditory person, you may need to bring in auditory information so that you can see it. That's normal. If you're very kinesthetic, same thing. Use those feelings, those sensations to generate the images. Yeah, so somebody just mentions I completely took myself out of it. Yes, this is the problem, like I was mentioning before, about things like self-love. So it's an overcorrection for having left yourself out of your love. So instead of trying to overcorrect by making yourself love yourself, like just pull the plug on that and just include yourself. It's like it's so simple, so much easier to do that. And that's what you're doing in your vision. You're including yourself. This is the you who's creating this. And you can see that person in front of you now. And that should feel incredibly empowering and incredibly motivating. When you look at this vision now, what do you feel? You know it's working when you feel it's almost like it wants to pull you in. It's almost like it wants to suck you into it. And it can be very tempting to jump into it. And if you want to associate into it, that's fine. Just make sure you come back out. This is a big distinction between what I teach and not just what I teach, but what NLP teaches versus something like law of attraction and law of assumption. They want you to delude yourself into believing that something, your fantasy that you're creating, is real, so that and then it takes away the motivation to go after it. That's not going to help you. It just gets you drunk on your fantasies. We don't want to get drunk on our fantasies. We actually want to make this true. We want to make this real. We want to transform our lives into this vision, right? So it's very important to have a disassociated image of yourself, a very compelling image of yourself, the you want to be very soon in the near future. The you who is living your highest values, living your highest ideals. When you see that person in front of you, you're going to be compelled to become that person. And when you see this amazing vision all around that you're going to be even more compelled to create it. Okay? So very important that you see it in front of you, that you're not associating into it and trying to pretend like it's already happening. No. You need this to guide you in moving forward and motivate you, even when you don't realize it's there, because this will go unconscious, and it becomes even more powerful when it becomes unconscious. Well, like head and shoulders for this ideal image. But if in the rest of your vision you can see you doing other things, that's fine. That's fine. You know, it doesn't have to be. You don't have to rid. You know, you don't have to like delete all that out of the vision you're seeing. Keep it all in. Just make sure you also include a head to shoulders image of yourself, and that you represents you fulfilling these values. Powerful, huge shift for me. Thank you. You're welcome. Yes, you're getting it. I only have flashes of an image. Okay, just sit with it and get comfortable, get relaxed. It'll calm down, and you'll see it. I have trouble feeling because I have trouble seeing. I'm a bit too logical. Are there tips to assist with this? Everything ever created is with imaginary, yet I'm struggling. If you just get quiet with yourself and you ask yourself, what would it look like if these values were real? They were happening. They were tied to your goal. All of this was happening in front of you. How would you even know if it was happening? It'll come to you. Okay, so that's a different issue. We'll get to that in a second. Does it have to be a picture, or could it be a movie? Movies are usually better than pictures. It depends on you, but yeah, usually movies are more dynamic. So it's just ask yourself the question, what would this even look like? How would I know it if it was happening? And that's what creating a vision is really all about. I had been taught many times through different personal development trainings, and even when I opened my first business, part of the protocol of opening that business for this particular company was I had to write a business plan that had a vision and a mission. And it's always sounded great. But when I sat down to create the vision, I was completely clueless. And then I would go looking for information about how to create it. And nobody was teaching anything other than vision boards. And vision boards never worked for me. So I was like, how do you even do this? I never not believed that it was important. I just didn't know how to do it. And then by accident, when I created that vision that I mentioned earlier, and then found myself stepping into it, now it was like game on. Now I know how to replicate this. Now I know how to do this over and over again. And I can teach it to other people. It's not, you don't have to get it perfect the first time. This is a practice, okay? So if you don't feel like you got there as much as you wanted to, it's okay. It is a practice. And some people are going to be naturally faster at this than other people. It just matters that you get there. That's all that's important. So go easy on yourself. Don't compare yourself to others. That does not help. It's there. It's in you. Your vision will be your compass, showing you the way, even when you're in unfamiliar territory. So like we can have a paper, when I say map, most people don't even think about it in terms of maps anymore because we have GPS, right? But I remember I actually had to print maps off the internet to find my way around when I first moved to LA. And what inevitably happens, right, is that a map is two-dimensional, so it doesn't always represent the territory well enough for you to help you find your way. Also, things change, roads change, landmarks change, right? The beauty of having a compass is it doesn't matter what the terrain looks like or how it might have changed or how it might have no longer fit, how it might not fit anymore with the map you have. You still know the direction you want to go. You still know which way is north. And that's what a vision does. It doesn't tell you exactly how to get there. It tells you the direction. Now the how to get there is still to come. There's more to it. And like there's always more to it, right? But as long as you know your direction, you're never lost. That's the important thing. And I love this quote by J. Krishnamurti: "You have to be a light to yourself in a world that is becoming utterly dark." I don't know if I like the becoming utterly dark. I don't know if I want to have that kind of mindset, but the beauty is becoming a light to yourself. And I remember when I really started learning this work and I started learning about values elicitation, that's exactly what I felt like. There was turning on the lights, and I'm a light to myself now. I don't have to wait for someone to shine the light for me. And then when I started creating visions, it got accelerated by a lot. So it's like now I can see clearly where I need to go and find my way there. Now, the other thing to check in with, and I'd like everyone to take a moment to do this, now that you have a vision, now that you know what your values are, check in with your goal. The original goal, when I said, come up with a tangible goal. Now check in with it. Does it really align with your values and your vision? Or do you realize it's the wrong goal and it's time to change that goal? Now, when I go back, when I started understanding this stuff, I wanted to understand how could I have ever opened an insurance agency? And I actually elicited my values from that decision, even though it was a past decision. And you can absolutely do that if you want to find out why you made a choice that you made that you don't understand. You can use this process to elicit your values around why you made that choice. And if I had done that, if I had known what I know now back then, I would have elicited my values for opening an insurance agency. I would have asked myself the question, does opening an insurance agency align with these values? And it would have been a clear no. It does not. And I would have saved myself many years of struggle. I would have saved myself lots and lots of money because I went into a lot of debt starting that business. And I wouldn't have gotten depressed. So if you can save yourself all of that, years of frustration, possibly depression, possibly a lot of money spent, by understanding now that that goal that you thought was so important doesn't align with your values, that's huge. That's not a loss. Because a lot of people feel that, that sucks. The goal that I thought I wanted, it's not actually what I wanted. Well, no, that's great to know before you go chasing that goal. So now, if you're one of those people who found that out, that you realize now that that goal is not really aligned with your values and your vision, now it's time to come up with another goal. And I would treat your goals as like a hypothesis, because you don't really know until you get started on it, right? You don't really know if a goal is going to fulfill you, but you can know it before you go all the way to achieving it. As you're working toward that goal, is what you're doing aligned with your values? And as you get closer and closer to that goal, you're going to be able to know that more and more. And you're going to be able to know, yes, this is aligned with my values, or no, this is not. And you will know that by how fulfilled you feel about it. So it's super important. I've quit a lot of goals in my life, and most of the time, those were the best decisions I made. Never quit on your values, though. What if there's resistance to even this vision or believe it is possible? That's where we're going next. It is impressive how you made through all depressions by balancing the values. Thank you. Let's see. Sometimes I kind of step into some people alive and not together. The quality I like but lack in myself. Could I see myself in? Yeah, that's called modeling, and that's fine as long as you don't get stuck there. You don't get stuck in like being associated into someone else, because that will be really codependent. That will create codependent behavior. As I look at the goal and having $1 million in the bank in 3 years, freedom moved into most important value, followed by capable, persistent, playful. Nice. I like that. Okay. Thank you, Aparna. Okay, so wouldn't you say this is radically better than a vision board? I know some people still cling to their vision boards, and that's fine. Like if you think that works for you, go for it. But man, they never worked for me, and now it's so obvious why it doesn't work. First of all, when I would create a vision board, those vision, the images were either pulled from a magazine or printed off the internet. They weren't generated by me. They're also two-dimensional and flat, so they're not very exciting. After a while, I get bored with them. And the truth is my vision board would stay, in the corner of my room, and I would see it maybe twice a day. I don't know. This that you've just created, you take everywhere with you. You can't say that about a vision board. You take this everywhere you go. Vision boards are old and outdated. Your vision is alive and dynamic and changes automatically as you grow. It's nothing, a vision board can't keep up with that. And again, people just like you making this work and having phenomenal results from it. Here's Jennifer. Personally, I'm still in awe of the transformations that I've experienced in just a few weeks. I call it magic because sometimes I see myself changing in a few minutes, and I am left not believing that the change could be that simple, that fast. Do you realize how eliciting your values and creating a vision will set you up for success? There we go. This does take some practice, and you will get better at it the more you do it. Are you committed to using this in order to create the life that you want? Okay, good. Now, where we go next with this. So real quick, before we close this out, because this question was already coming up, when you see your vision in front of you, ask yourself, is there anything stopping you from creating what you see in front of you? Is there any objection to transforming into that person? Is there any objection to transforming your life into what you see in front of you? Okay, most of you do. Most of you do have that, right? And we can refer to that as resistance. And that's normal. Why is it normal? Well, because you probably would have already created what you're seeing in front of you, this vision. You probably would have already created it if there were no objections and no resistance. So that's what we're going to cover in Module 2, this one, overcome. We're basically going to overcome resistance, and it's not what you think. I assure you it's going to surprise you. So out of curiosity, how many of you are coming back tomorrow to understand what's holding you back so that you can overcome it and create the vision you see in front of you? Awesome. All right. Well, I'm looking forward to that. And if you think today was good, wait till you see what we've got for you tomorrow. It's going to blow your mind. All right, Yulia, you want to bring me back and turn off the slides? Okay. So that's it for today. I see there are so many questions, and that's wonderful. I try to get to as many questions as I can. Probably won't be able to get to all of them because there are so many. I will. It's like we're getting a lot of static suddenly. I'm not sure where that's coming from. Anyway, I do my best to get to everyone possible. And so I'll keep doing that. If you leave comments on my videos, and I'm pretty good at getting to everyone on that. And so I'll do my best. And then maybe if we have time tomorrow, we'll do some more Q&A. The main thing is to focus on the practice, focus on getting clarity, go easy on yourself. Don't judge yourself. Don't compare yourself to others. None of that's going to be helpful. Just relax into it. It's a practice. Some people are going to move faster. Some people are going to be slower. It's all okay. Just commit to getting there one way or the other. You're very welcome. All right, Nate, do you have anything before we close out?
I do. So once we close out today, what I want to ask you all to do is underneath this video, type out your biggest learnings with as much detail as you possibly can, and then comment on someone else's learning as well. What that will do is it will deepen what you're understanding, because the better you can describe what you understand, the deeper your understanding goes, and the more conversations you have around it, the better prepared you will be for your next steps. Okay, can everyone do that right after this video? Give me a thumbs up, or yeah. Let's see. All right, good. Perfect. I'm excited for tomorrow.
Me too. Great work, everyone. Like I said, judging from your questions, I can tell you're doing the work, and that's where you want to put your attention. You don't always have control over the results and the outcomes. That's okay. Just focus on the work. Do the work, and you will get there, I assure you. All right. Take care, everybody.